Reconvene open session, digital business, 5:30 p.m. Call to order at 5:42 p.m. Trustees to identify themselves. Bill Mellinger, trustee area 1.
Deanna Ridley, trustee area 2.
Cindy Gardner, trustee area 3.
Scott Kraft, trustee area 4.
Jordan Zaragi, trustee area 5, Running Springs, Arrow Bear Lake, Green Valley Lake.
Thank you. And with that, we will do the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand, and Suzanne Bro will lead us.
Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Suzanne. 8.0. 1. Closed session report, announcement of reportable actions taken during closed session. Number 1, in the case of student expulsion, Education Code 48912, number 01-2223, the vote to expel student 01 was unanimous. Number 2. In the case of student expulsion, Education Code 48912-04, 2223, the vote to expel student 04 was unanimous. Number 3, in the case of student expulsion, Education Code 48912-05, 2223, the vote to expel student 05 was unanimous. There's no further reports from closed session. 9.0, public testimony, public comment period for items listed on this agenda and non-agenda items within the subject matter jurisdiction of the governing board. We're still shuffling papers.
You got it, no worries.
Okay. And hopefully I have them. 9.1, public comment period for items listed on this agenda and non-agenda items within the subject matter jurisdiction of the governing board. Quick summary abstract. The public comment period is administered by state law and is the point in the meeting set aside for members of the public to share their opinions with the board. Open meeting laws do not permit the board to engage in dialogue or answer questions. I always feel like we should repeat that statement once in a while, that we're not allowed to respond, have dialogue, or answer questions. Though it may not take action on non-agenda issues raised at the public comment period, the board, for example, may refer any matter to the superintendent for review or take action to direct staff to place a matter of business on a future agenda. Protocols for speakers. Any person who wishes to address the governing board on agenda and non-agenda items within the subject matter of their jurisdiction must complete a green speakers form and submit it to the executive secretary to the superintendent before the meeting is called to order. That has happened. I have 4 representatives. The board limits the total time for public input on each item to 20 minutes. Speakers who have complaints against board members or staff are encouraged to seek resolution to those complaints by using the RIM of the World Unified School District written complaint procedure rather than orally addressing them at a meeting. The board will not respond to such complaints until the applicable complaint procedure BPAR 1312.1 has been followed and has reached the board level. Where a complaint concerns a district employee identifiable by name, position, or other facts, the board cannot respond until proper written notice has been given to the employee pursuant to Government Code Section 54957. The governing board is interested in the ideas and opinions of all stakeholders and endeavors to incorporate community views into its deliberations and decisions. At the same time, it must be able to conduct its business in an organized and efficient manner, free from material disruption. Therefore, in accordance with Board Bylaw 9323 and Government Code Section 54957.9, audience members may not disrupt, disturb, or otherwise impede the orderly conduct of the meeting. Open meeting laws do not confer any privilege or protection for expression beyond that otherwise provided by law. The public's understanding and cooperation are appreciated. Public comments. So we're going to open with Faith Mattioli from representing Rita Nelson, Blue Jay Cinemas. Faith again. And again, for all of you who come speaking, please make sure that you push the microphone button when the red light is on. So it's not on yet. Then you can stop. You can talk. There's a clock right in front of me that gives you the 3-minute time frame that you have. Thank you, Faith.
Hello, my name is Faith Mattioli, and I'm here representing Rita Nelson. She is a mountain resident. However, her home was red tagged during the last storm, so she couldn't be here tonight. To whom it may concern, I'm writing out of concern of the recent discussions I've been hearing on the future plans of what is currently Blue Jay Cinema and the offices. The thought of having another grocery store put in town across the street from another grocery store, Jensen's, and being a mile away from another one, Stater Brothers, seems like very poor community planning. The community does not need another grocery store. What it needs is more activity for year-round residents, part-timers, and tourists. We once had the Ice Castle, the ice skating rink, which was located across the street from Blue Jay Cinema. That became business offices, taking away so much from our community. Students went there with their schools, having school nights there. People of all ages came and enjoyed it year-round and gave our youth a safe, fun place to go. Even was a place where Michelle Kwan, Olympic medalist, learned to ice skate. Those activities, lessons, and opportunities were stripped from our community for business offices. Now movie nights, birthday parties, and more that are enjoyed and celebrated at the Blue Jay Cinema is going to be stripped away for a grocery store that is not needed nor wanted in the community. Focus should be put towards revamping the building, adding an arcade, roller rink, etc. to the existing movie theater so that it becomes a place for our youth and visitors to go to. Maybe a place for another youth to find their passion, whether it's on a roller rink or a new ice rink put in. That corner is a prime location for this and would be a shame to place a grocery store there across the street from a beloved local grocery store that has been part of the community since I was a young child. I have seen this area grow and change over the past 40 years, and it has become harder and harder for full-time residents to find a good outlet for their youth. There's only so much walking around the village and hanging out one can do. Usually leads to boredom, which leads to getting into no good. Please consider our youth and the negative impact of putting another grocery store in our small mountain community will do. Also consider the positive impact of keeping the cinema while adding to it. Rain or shine, it will draw people in. Respectfully, Rita Nelson. Thank you.
Faith. Thank you, Faith. Christy Baltazar, Blue Jay Cinema.
You nailed my name. Thank you.
I'm sorry?
You nailed my name. Perfect.
Oh,
Thank you.
good. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm proud. Nobody gets it right. Hi, my name is
Oh,
Christy.
now you turned the mic off.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
Now it's on. Hi, my name is Christy Baltazar. I am a new resident. I moved here on July 3rd last year because I wanted to be sure to be here for July 4th. I have been coming to this community on and off for 7 years. I lived in Los Angeles before, and I just always came up here when I needed a break from the fakeness of Los Angeles, and I needed to be in a place that reminded me of my hometown. I am from a small town in the Wind River Mountains called Riverton, Wyoming, and I have the opportunity to be a homeowner here because I purchased my home with an inheritance I got from my brother who passed away 3 years ago to this day. And the reason I chose this town isn't just because it reminded me of my hometown, but because it's a town that I know my brother would have loved as well. It's got such a unique identity and such a diverse culture. And that's something that I really value as a person that has lived many places. And to thought of losing some of that unique identity for me would mean that it would be a place that would be less, something that I want to be part of. I lived near Park City for a long time and watched it go from being a town similar to this to being a corporate hellhole, to be quite honest, pardon my language. It has no unique identity anymore. It's untenable to live there if you aren't a millionaire. And I would hate to see that happen to this area because it's so close to Los Angeles. That's a distinct possibility. Additionally, I'd like to present an option that might be available for the building using Jackson Hole, Wyoming as an example. That's a community that has a similar economic identity with largely very wealthy community and then a working class community present there. Recently, their original mercantile went up for sale and was slated for demolition, and the community members got together and over the course of 2.5 months raised $8.5 million under a community development investment fund, and they were able to purchase the building as a community. And it's now a co-op that's owned by the citizens of Jackson Hole, Wyoming. So I think if we are given some time, clearly this grocery chain has shown that if they are told no, they will come back and try again. They did it in Big Bear. So I don't think the sale to them is an option that will go away if we pause and reconsider some other options. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you all so much for what you clearly contribute to this community. It's very well known, and just thank you so much for your time. And
Thank you, Christy. Rex Mock speaking about proposed closure of cinema.
Thank you for allowing the previous speakers to comment prior to the closed session. We would like you to know, out of respect for the board, we would have invited more people, but we limited it to a few, so our presentation would remain calm and succinct. I've been informed tonight that there was no secrecy surrounding the immediate sale of the property housing Blue Jay Cinema after the first deal fell through. Yet the management of the Blue Jay Cinema, along with every patron and community member, seemed surprised by that deal. Regardless, the community at large and all of our patrons perceived this as a clandestine agreement. After hearing about the second sale, I spoke with no less than 3 potential buyers who are active in the community, who said they would have enjoyed the opportunity to purchase the building and invest in the community. When the demo crew for the buyer entered the building and made statements about repurposing items in the cinema, I was shocked, being under the impression there would be an opportunity to keep the cinema open. After all, the building was built for a theater, and the expense of gutting and extensively modifying the upper floors seemed unlikely. When the buyer, upon taking possession, would have a paying leaseholder from day one. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Matt. Rex. And Katie Curtis, Blue Jay Cinema closure. And the mic's already on, Katie.
Thank you for the opportunity to share our thoughts. My name is Katie Curtis, a fairly new member of this community. I and my family have been here for 3 years and 4 winters. I'm a transplant that intentionally chose to move and buy a home on this mountain after living in LA County my entire life, being drawn by the access to nature and the small town charm, believing this to be a safe, family-friendly community. As a member of this community and a single mom, I am disheartened to hear of the planned closure of Blue Jay Cinema. It is our only theater and one of the only family-friendly and affordable forms of entertainment available for all ages. It is unlike any other big city theater. When I go to the Blue Jay Cinema, the employees know I always order a large tub of popcorn, a box of red vines, and a cup of ice. And they always know it's me who might have spilled my popcorn due to the bits and pieces of licorice mixed in. I know I am not the only regular they serve and know on a personal level. But Blue Jay Cinema is one of the only safe places our kids and families can go and enjoy themselves regularly. Please reconsider the plans to close our cinema and work with our community for a satisfactory compromise for all parties involved and affected by this closure. Thank you for allowing me to share.
Thank you. RIM Teachers Association, doesn't look like we have representative.
We do not.
Thank you. But we do have our own very special Suzanne Grow, represent the California School Employee Association. Suzanne.
Good evening, everybody. What a beautiful day it is today, and I love all the seasons, but I feel like spring kind of is a symbolism for hope and growth, and after the cold, dark, dreary days of winter, it is a needed refreshment, and so it does my soul good. I wanted to make sure to be here tonight to thank you all and express appreciation for your support of the classified employees and working with us to negotiate raises. The classified members have not had the opportunity to meet and ratify the tentative agreement as we've had the storms. But we do look forward to the upcoming plans for holding the compensation studies that was presented at a previous board meeting. And we appreciate that as our leaders that you see the need to pay competitive wages in order to retain and attract qualified employees to our district. With that, I wanted to bring something to your attention. Part of our contract that members are feeling is not being followed. Well, it's being followed to the letter of the law, but really isn't in the spirit or intent of the contract. And I'll read part of the contract. If a part-time employee is approved or required to work 30 minutes or more in excess of their regular assigned hours for a period of 20 consecutive workdays, they shall have his or her basic assignment adjusted to reflect the longer hours effective the next pay period. So we're aware that there are times or directives that employees are given extra hours to work. But then the loophole of saying, well, we're getting close to 20 days, tomorrow you can't work the extra time, and then we'll start the clock over. So we're following the letter of the law, but it's really not fair or right. If we do really need employees on the clock for 5-6 hours, then that's what is really fair, and make that a permanent assignment instead of on a technicality changing their hours. And I'm pretty sure that we wouldn't ever approve of splitting a teacher's day and having 2 half-day teachers cover a class. It really would not be best for students, the consistency or a well-run class. So we just ask that you would consider the same reasoning for our part-time classified employees, and hope that we can work something out together. Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. Suzanne, I don't understand why you haven't been able to meet. You've had people working all through the snow.
Well, if we could hike there, maybe not get our cars out.
We do appreciate our staff, so thank you, Suzanne. Please convey that. 10.0, governing reports and announcements governing board members. We're going to begin at the far end of the table. So Jordan, if you would start with the report that you have.
Good evening. This is our first school board meeting since the major snowstorms that impacted our communities. At least, yeah, so this is good to be back. It's good that we're in a position that we can be back and meeting in person together. So to go over that, our superintendent did hold on Tuesday a superintendent's forum and action forums. Sorry. Oh, sorry. It was well attended, I think. It was, I see some audience members here who actually attended that. So it was wonderful to be able to see what the district did in response to the emergency, the response that we got from other agencies and agency partners, the lag time of how much needs to be done until outside agencies and resources can come up the mountain in the event of a disaster. And it was good to hear from the community members, ideas, suggestions, other ways that we as a district can improve, but also ideas for how we as a district could advocate better amongst agency partners on the response to that storm. So I think overall, it's been really wonderful to hear the positive feedback and I think I have not heard a negative word about how our superintendent, Dr. Fricker, has handled the storm, nor her team alongside her. Being somebody who was out there, the only employee available to open shelters, Red Cross not available to open shelters, but our superintendent was able to get there with the help of Snowcat and partner agencies to come out there. It was wonderful to see that we were able to open shelters, we were able to get evacuations out. We became somewhat of a centralized point of contact during the emergency operations. It's my understanding that Dr. Fricker was among the only resident on this mountain that was part of the emergency response team coordination that was happening. And that was really wonderful to see. So I just want to commend our superintendent on that and the district overall for a job well done there. I know that there's more that can be done, though. That's not to say that everything went according to plan. There is a lot of opportunity, and I think out of this, the board has taken a lot of options and opportunity out of this as well. We should be looking more into advocacy from a perspective of making sure that all of our school sites are prepared to be evacuation centers for any type of disaster. That includes heat-related events. We should be available as cooling centers, but because we found out that a lot of outside government agencies will rely upon school district buildings for those resources. But if those schools are not equipped to handle that resource, there needs to be something that happens from a legislative level, from an advocacy level, to provide the resources needed to a school district so that we can properly handle any disaster, because we know that there is going to be a lag time from when the disaster occurs to when somebody can come and actually start helping our community members. So I'm sure a lot of our other board members will have comments or information that they would like to share about that. But that is, we are taking a lot of long-term advocacy efforts from this storm. We are working on building better partnerships with our legislators that can help us and truly understand what happens in the event of a disaster and how we can better work together. I can say that our state senator I contacted during the storm and was extremely responsive. There were folks that were not able to get out of their house, running out of medication. Senator Ochoa Bell's office was very kind in helping coordinate some of those. Where can we get, let's bring them medicine. Let's get that over to that, that resident in Running Springs. We were an isolated community for a period of time during that storm. So I know that there is more that can be done there. I think I'll go ahead and leave my comment short there. There's a lot more that we'd like to do. I would encourage anyone and everyone to come and talk with us. If you want to learn more about the advocacy efforts you're doing, we have a board workshop next Thursday dedicated to that. So I would encourage you to come to that as well. But we're also happy to meet outside of that to hear ideas and to really bring those together and be in a forum where we can dialogue back and forth and talk with one another. I've got a lot to say there, and I've got a lot of budgetary things to talk about from the state perspective on how we could be better funded as a district, but I will leave it there for the night and pass it on to another board member. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Srirachi. And now I have a presentation to make to our newest board member who has been on and now has his official badge. So Scott, can I give you your official badge?
Thank you. Are we supposed to wear these?
You are supposed to wear that when you're on campus, sir. You are in an educational setting, even though you were a school teacher, you now are a board member and you have to let people know that you're a board member.
Why, thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Go ahead, please.
Okay, my turn, yes. Well said, Mr. Srirachi. I've been a long time resident myself. And my family moved up here in 1976. I've said this before, but when I first moved up here, I was in 6th grade, halfway through, and it snowed 6 feet. And that was the best thing in the world when you're 11. Because you're learning how to make igloos and jump off the cliffs and things like that. And luckily, my mom had to go work, and we were left to do whatever we wanted to do. We were, and different times back then. But the thing that reminds me from then to now is how much more our community has evolved, where they work with each other more. And I agree with everything you had to say, but also I just wanted to add that our community, when I was out and about, anywhere from like Sky Park to just local kids, I saw local kids driving food trucks up the mountain. These were kids that either were in school or just out of school. I saw kids that eventually were being hired on by the county to help drive some of the snow plows. One stopped in front of my house, and he was a kid that he didn't really fit in high school. And I had to kind of give him a little bit more leeway just so he'd pass PE as a senior. And he's driving the snowplow, doing a great job for our community. And I love that aspect up here. And that's why I myself will never leave this district. I'll never move from here. I won't even entertain the thought, because people don't know how great we have it up here that aren't here. We have a great school, and yeah, there's improvements we can make that are going to help us with disasters. I've seen 3 fires and a number of snowstorms. I've never seen one like this, never have. But what I see time and time again is our community. I just attended a funeral, Tyler Hewitt, and the community that's there just is so supportive. And it's just so neat to see that, even in tragedy. And I commend everybody that helped out, neighbors helping neighbors, and all the businesses that got together and helped everybody. It was amazing. It was amazing. So I commend everybody, and I applaud everybody that helped out. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Welcome to the mountain. Cindy Gardner.
I would just like to say that being by myself, trapped, trying to dig myself out, after many days, I just felt like I was in The Shining and I was going to become Jack Nicholas. So I'm just saying that it was pretty crazy. I agree, Jordan, that the storm and subsequent discussion of natural disasters had really shone a flashlight on our needs to improve our facilities. We do have new leaks, lots of leaks. We do have issues with heat during the summer because we have extensive heat events now. It seems every year. We have aging facilities. And if we're going to need our facilities to house people, whether it's during earthquakes, fires, blizzards, whatever it is, we have to be able to be set up to safely take care of our evacuation people. So I just think that this really highlighted the need for us to focus on how do we get the money to start these projects, because they're extensive. Every school site needs to have updates to make them to function as evacuation centers and to service the needs of our employees and our students in a better manner. And so I agree with that. In terms of, I really think I did become Jack Nicholas. I think I lost my mind actually for a couple of days. I went psycho. Okay, so then I want to say that RIM scholarship, I know Jen, I did go psycho. Jen, I want to RIM Scholarship Council just held student interviews for seniors. Seniors at RIM High School did their interviews the last 2 days for scholarships. I want to thank Kathy Horton and Stephanie Phillips for stepping up and filling that void and making those interviews happen, even with the storm and pushing back that deadline of the scholarship. Pulling off interviews in literally days, it went really well. I want to thank all the community members who stepped up to interview our students. I think Priscilla, thank you. Jim, thank you. And I think we have fabulous students. When you talk to them, they're inspiring. There was a kid, Jose Nunez, who we asked to tell us about yourself. And he seriously said, this is where I'm going to go. I'm going to have this business, and this is the name of the business, and this is what it's going to do. He's going to be a civil engineer, and he's going to open up his own business. But he actually had a name already picked out. He was so focused, and so many of the students just have a passion. There's another student who is really into ceramics, intends to open up a studio in Running Springs where she lives. So she's going to a community college to get a associate business degree, as well as continue ceramics, maybe going to 4-year, but she has every intention of opening a studio here on the mountain. So you hear these stories and they're so inspiring. And it was especially great to hear that even after Snowmageddon, they have every intention of coming back. So I was like, wow, okay, we're holding that. So again, thank you for everybody. Thank you, Mr. Williamsy, for jumping in and saving a morning that was going a little sideways. Next, advocacy. I'm part of 300 people, superintendents and full board members between California State Board Association and AXA, which is the superintendent administration arm. I'm going to Washington, D.C. I fly on Saturday, and we'll be meeting with the Department of Education, the Department of Agriculture and Labor. We'll also be meeting with our legislators. We have bullet points, one of which is special education, seeing if they will ever agree to fund at the promised 40%. Probably not, but we always ask. It's always a bullet point. I am excited because we did get a notification that we will be invited to the U.S. Capitol building, to the House of Representatives dining hall for a reception. So I'm really looking forward to that. I told Amanda Markovich I'm going to take lots of selfies and send them to her because she's our history teacher at RIM High School. And I said, have you ever seen this? And she said, no. I said, I heard it's really awesome. I'm going to take some selfies and send them to you when I was there. So I'm very excited, besides the fun stuff, that we're going to actually have very, very pointed, focused meetings with all the entities that touch education. So I'm very excited about that. And then I got notification of our delegate assembly, the California State Board Association's delegate assembly, which is next month in Sacramento. Very excited. That's where we really get committee reports, including positions. CSBA is taking on different bills, and then we vote on stuff. I love the little clickers we get. It's like my favorite thing. So it's really exciting. all the regions across California get together in a big ballroom. And it's really amazing to interact with districts around California and realize how many of us are experiencing the same issues as RIM, declining enrollment. We're also experiencing aging facilities. And how do we handle aging facilities? And as Bill always talks about, and as well as myself, we need to change the discussion from bonds to infrastructure and trying to get schools to be considered part of a state and federal infrastructure bill. We will get there. That's not going to happen soon, so we have to focus on a bond, hopefully, but it's just the fact that we have to start that conversation and change the way that schools are treated, and making sure that our employees and our students are educated in the best educational environment. So we'll see how. I'm excited about the trip, though. It'll be fun and educational.
Trustee Gardner, thank you. Thank you for the work that you do in advocacy for us and for representing us in Washington, D.C. I'm sorry you're going to have fun.
Well, I know. Well, I do. I enjoy myself. Plus, I get to talk a lot, which is the best thing ever for me. Ever. So,
It's good for us that you get to talk there.
yeah, exactly. Because I give you all a break. Yeah, I know. I get it. I get it.
And Trustee Jordana Ridman.
Hi, everyone. I don't think I enjoy speaking as much as Cindy does. Hard act to follow, and I appreciate the comments that Jordan and Cindy all made. Definitely, we need to really dive more into advocacy as a group. We do not have the resources for our students that we really use in terms of having well outfitted buildings, being able to have all the resources that we would love to have in the classrooms, and also in our community, having the places that kids can go to be able to go and be kids. And so I don't want to speak too much to the public comments that came earlier, but I think it's important to acknowledge them in that it is heartbreaking to know that we are having, in some ways, in other areas more, but in other ways less available to our students, our kids on the mountain. And something that came to mind, particularly when Christy Baltazar was speaking in terms of having places for kids to play. And in a prior place that she lived, I forgot where it was, where the community got together and purchased a building as a community center. Next month, we'll be putting Grandview on the market. And what a great place, what a great location, and there's time. So I would love to see our community, our amazing community who came together so beautifully during Snowbid or Snowmageddon, whatever you want to call it.
Central time.
Think that too. I was joining you in the craziness, but you know, isolation can really do havoc to one's psyche. But there is possibly opportunity there. We as a board had originally selected Sky Park as a potential purchaser for the district office in Blue Jay. And we took a lesser bid because we knew the community needed to have those outlets for our kids. So maybe there's opportunity with the Grandview property that might be a way for our community to really come together, for our kids, for our families, to provide some sort of a family fun center there. So just something to consider. Meanwhile, we will be advocating heavily outside the community and inside the community to try and provide the best possible opportunities for all of our students and our staff. So we have a terrific team here. We have amazing employees who have done just the impossible in the past couple months for our community. And I know our community wants to be there for our school district. So there's, like Scott had mentioned earlier, I can't see myself living anywhere else. It's those things that you don't see until tragedy hits, where everybody, strangers come together and do for each other. So I know in the future we will continue to do well by each other. I appreciate the community and I really appreciate what the district has done. And I am very saddened by what's happening over in Blue Jay. And we need to have those resources available for our existing school structures. And we're here with COVID and with everything that's been going on, it's been tough to be in these seats, but that's what we signed up for. We have to make those hard decisions, and it would be nice if things can fall into place that could really work well for everybody. So those are my 2 cents. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, trustee Ridden. Appreciate each of the trustees and what each one of you do, both in the community and what you do for our school board. As a school board, we make a lot of decisions, but really probably the only decision that this board makes that really matters is the selection of a superintendent. And I'm just going to say that I think this school board made one of the best decisions possible in the hiring and the calling of Dr. Fricker to be superintendent of Rim of the World Unified School District. And the work that she did during this last blizzard was stellar. And so Dr. Fricker. Thank you. I had the chance to have several conversations with Kim as she was trying to work across the mountain and try to get communication down the mountain. Like you, Scott, was all over the mountain myself. And one of the things I want to say first off is that we have a community. It wasn't just one. It wasn't just Running Springs that came together. It wasn't just Green Valley. It wasn't just or Grass Valley. It wasn't just Crestline or Blue Jay or Twin Peaks or Job's Peak. But all across the mountain, people realize the need to take care of neighbors. We will be in a crisis like this again. We will have some kind of disaster like this again, be it an earthquake, a fire, snow again. There will be a disaster like this and a significant need in this community. Then one of the biggest things that happened was neighbors took care of neighbors, and that's what has to happen. We will find a time where we are up here again. I think it was 14 days before the first outside resource came up the mountain. 14 days. That's the kind of time frame we're going to have in the future or greater. And during that time period, it's going to require neighbor to take care of neighbor, friend to take care of friend. We're going to have to do what we did during this storm. So to the whole community, my hands, I applaud you as well. It brings us to a place, though, as a school board, that we have concerns for intervention. We easily could have said, well, we lost a month of school, so guess what, kids and teachers and staff, well, it takes an MOU, but regardless, we're going to go an extra month. And we're going to move graduation back and all those kinds of things that you probably should have done, but we can't because that's not right to families either. And so the decision has been made. We're continuing at their calendar as it's set. We're asking for those permissions from the governor to get from the governor's office to get approvals. You can read, it's 23 pages or 22? Just 22, sorry. Don't want to exaggerate. That it was 22-page report that went to the governor's office talking about what all went on during the blizzard, what the school district did. Every site in this school district was in use during the blizzard in one way or another at one time or another, whether it's food distribution, emergency shelter, every site. Thank you, Mr. Wamsey, and I would applaud you as well. I just have to say, I'm serious, Suzanne, when I said the staff was working and doing things during the blizzard. We didn't all wait 30 days to be out there and be on the job. I was at VOE when we opened up the school there for food distribution, and I think almost every staff person that could get out had made it there to help distribute food to the community. And it took staff to get the doors open. I mean, there's so much that happened during this blizzard. So I applaud the school district in recognizing its important role in this community. We are community schools. We need to continue to be that. And so I'm very thankful, but I am concerned about the interventions that are necessary. I guess I want to remind our teachers, in my opinion, you're our intervention specialists. You're the ones that make the difference. You're the ones that know our students right now. You're the ones that know how to help them, guide them, direct them. I applaud you and encourage you. Keep doing your good job of helping to intervene in bringing students up. We've got testing, AP testing, all kinds of things that are happening right now that need to occur, and we'll get it all done by the end of the year, right, Dr. Fricker?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. I want to speak to a couple other issues that have been concerning me. That one of the things that comes out of what has happened during this blizzard, you've heard other trustees speak to it, and that is our infrastructure needs. And some of you are going to say, oh, you guys are just trying to push for a bond. I'm sorry, what we're pushing for is to have schools that are safe. We're pushing for schools that are adequate. We're pushing for buildings that can meet the needs of our students, whether it's air conditioning, air purification, heating. But the big one is security. Again, we see violence occurring across our country. We've seen students, again, be killed in our country. We can talk and say that's all about guns. I think it's about much more than that. I think we have to talk about the mental wellness of people in our community and how we assist them. I think we also need to talk about what are we doing to protect our schools to make them to be safe places. So if somebody does have an issue that they're not able to get into our schools as easily, and everyone on this board knows that we have campuses that are frankly wide open. Campuses that are not fully fenced, they're not fully protected. If we have to open a door to make it cooler in that room, we've just made that room unsecure. And that's across our school district. There's been humor about the waves in Rim of the World High School that we could do surfing. In fact, we're talking about doing a new class for surfing in the hallways of the high school, Brian. So you should be thinking about that for the future, because there's so much water that was actually pouring in through roof spaces and all. There are big issues that take big money. Yet, as a board member, there's another concern. And this also came out in the blizzard. We have people that are living on the edge. We have people that are on fixed incomes, reduced monies, that are barely getting by, and that barely got by during this blizzard, and some did not survive. And so that's another challenge. So we have decisions that we have to make that have to take into consideration all those people in our community. And so there's a big concern. Yet we've got to take care of the children and the needs of the people in our educational system. Which brings me to one of my final comments. There's a lot of politics going on today about parents' rights. Our Congress approved a Parents' Bill of Rights. Regardless of your political stance, and I'm sorry, but I think that sometimes we make things about something that they are not. But I think that this board ought to take up a Parents' Bill of Rights and recognize that we serve our parents, number one. That we are not the parents, that we are not in control of the students, but that we influence them and should educate them, and we need to support what parents are doing. So I would urge us as a board to support the Parents' Bill of Rights for our district as well. With that, it's my privilege to turn over the mic to the person who I think has done an exceptional job as our superintendent. And more than that, and by the way, we might have to downgrade you some on this, because you took on jobs that we did not give you. You became the safety officer for the mountain. You became the main resource to meet needs of people here on the mountain. Dr. Fricker, superintendent.
So at the superintendent forum, I was going to end with that, but I'm going to start with it. At the superintendent's forum, I really did credit the board. Anytime I needed to reach out to board members, and Mr. Mallion, president of the board, was absolutely amazing at answering my phone call, no matter what day or time of day. that actually had to be. I want to thank my amazing team too, sitting to the right of me. Because it was a privilege to know that the district was going to be handled, all the runnings orders of business that still had to be conducted was going to be conducted. And then the impact and aftermath, as you mentioned, with interventions, talking to my team about how are we going to put those interventions in place that really make sense for kids and not adding on to an already stressful time here at the end of the school year, and really trying to hold and protect the time that we have as students coming in and faculty being there and administration running the buildings. How do we protect that time for those students and then really decide what we are going to do throughout the course of next year and the year after to put in those interventions where they really are targeted to the students' needs. They really will meet the deficit areas that individual students have. And how do we really crack that code and understand fundamentally, how do we put those interventions in that really will matter? And it will also be strengthen the fiscal responsibility we have so that we are good stewards of the money that we do have as a district. And we are putting that money into targeted areas where they will have impact and you will see positive growth onto the student achievement side. And that's no short order. And they're all like, oh my gosh. But that's what we are committed to, at least on this side of the table. I know the board is committed to helping us do just that work on this side of the table. And then I also want to thank the staff. So I do want you to stand, Mr. Williamsy, and Mr. Zimmer, Ayla, and Stephanie, I want you to stand.
All right, all
stand.
staff,
All staff.
all staff,
Oh, no.
all staff.
I want to thank these individuals too. I mean, Mr. Williamsy opened up. Yes, over there. I didn't even see you over there. But yes, Marina, stand, because the people who ran those sites and emptied pallets of food by hand in the middle of a snowstorm with me. I don't know who was crazier, Jen, but I know that you looked at me and you're like, Kim, what in the world are you doing here? And Jim, you're amazing at running our facilities and making sure that they all are as safe and sound as possible. I know that we've all stayed nights in schools and we've all done way beyond the call of duty. So I could not have done any of it without some amazing people. I feel like I'll forever be bonded with some of you in some of those moments. And then I think the heart of this district is really meeting the needs of our students and our families. And those students and our families are not just the students and families that come to our school. It's the friends of a friend, it's the community members we don't know, it's meeting new people. The Mocs, I've met you. Thank you so much for working to open up that distribution center. It was a pleasure to support you in that effort. And I just applaud the work that everyone has done across this mountain. And in the superintendent's forum, I did stress the fact that there's going to be this period of time, and it's like 5 to 7 days, maybe 12, that you have to wait for help to mobilize and come to us. So what are we doing in those moments? And you don't have an option to sit still. You don't have an option to stay home. When the snowcats come, and we were number 3 and 4 out of homes that morning behind the sheriff and the fire department, they're picking up us, and we're feeling guilty because we get a ride to a school, but we know if we can't get to those schools, we can't open those schools. And if we can't open those schools, residents can't come to those schools. And so there isn't a question to stay home, and there isn't a thought in your head that I need to worry about myself or my own property or the things that I'm leaving behind. Just leave those things behind. And it wasn't just me, it was a slew of people that helped us do that on behalf of the school district. I think it was the greatest gift and pleasure that we've had giving back to this community. And I know that it's really sorry to see the loss across our community. And it's really hard to feel that. And to think that we minimize it in some small amount, I think is kind of our own saving grace, and it kind of helps you through some of the dark times or the difficult times that come with some of these things that happen. But things will happen. And so I think there is also a very large commitment on the part of the school district moving forward to work with agencies, hold meetings, revitalize some of those community action groups that will help us plan and be more prepared for the future, whether it's an earthquake or a fire or another snowstorm or whatever comes our way. Because we have to do that. We have got to traverse the balance between when crisis starts and when help is going to arrive. And that lies with every single one of us. So everyone who has put in effort, I mean, you all are heroes on this mountain. And so, I will look back with, I I feel like a month of my life just disappeared. But I think it was probably the greatest work of my entire life. So I'm happy to serve in that capacity, and it really was a privilege and a pleasure to work with all of you and all of my team and the Board of Education. So thank you so much for that. Moving a little bit forward, in the spirit of revitalizing some healthy competition between our school district and, say, the Big Bear School District. I want to just thank Mr. Williamson for instigating, prompting, laying down the gauntlet, however you want to phrase that, of the Peak Performers Challenge, which will be featured in the superintendent's newsletter, by the way. And so your inspiration to challenge the neighboring school district filters down into the intermediate school, where now we have both MPH, right, and RHS, challenging Big Bear High School to who can have the highest test scores on the CAST state standardized tests. So we have to stay tuned, because we're not going to get the results until the fall. So this isn't going to be a short-lived challenge, but I do enjoy your enthusiasm and your innovative thinking, and a way to just infuse positivity into something that could be considered not as exciting as state testing. So thank you for that. I'm so happy to highlight that. I do want to also revisit the notion of moving to a full day TK and K program. We have seen the state legislation put a larger emphasis on early childhood education. I know that Ms. Dominguez and were you there, Mr. Hanson?
Yeah.
They went around, and Jim Zimmer, you were there too, site walks to all of the school sites, looking at what those classroom facilities would look like should we decide to move to a full day TK and K program. That will bring a lot of relief for our families, especially who have to work now more than ever. And we will provide full day service for those youngsters. There's still logistics that have to be ferreted out. And I know that our team is meeting next week to decide what the next steps are in that process, and if we can really open up that as a viable opportunity to our families and our community members. So we are excited about that. A lot of the work that had been postponed for the past month and a half has now come quickly on back online. And so we are working as fast and as feverishly as possible to make sure that we close out the school year with integrity and joy and some celebrations. We are holding true to those graduation dates. We haven't heard back from the county or the state on the waivers, but it would be our intention to hold those dates solid and not extend. And like I said, we want to put targeted efforts into the upcoming 2 years to make sure that we just don't add something on that's not going to be effective. We really add something in and layer something in that's going to be effective for the long term for our students and the health and well-being of our staff and our students together. So that's our intention from the school district, and I just want to thank the Board of Education.
Bill, can I add something?
Yes, sir.
As a former Big Bear resident and growing up in Big Bear, this will be the first time I root for the blue and not the red. So I just want to throw that out there.
That's good.
Thanks, Ken. You better be rooting blue.
Yes.
And I do need to say that I forgot 2 things. One was that I've been asked to serve on the special committee that is looking for the county by Supervisor Rao, who is evaluating our response to the blizzard. And I'm representing the school district. And so, by the way, I will be sharing with you the 5 points I'm supposed to respond on. So, but I'm representing our school district on that committee of 9. And that is a committee that is across the mountain all the way to Big Bear and a rather focused committee. So, and the other thing that I meant to say also is that, by the way, Rex, thank you, because I was at the theater the Sunday you opened again and took a group over there. So thanks for being open.
Thanks for support.
And we are privileged to have one of our exceptional students as our student representative to give her report, Michelle Helguera from Rim of the World High School. Michelle.
Welcome back, everyone. I know I'm really happy to be back. It's been a really long few months. And I also like to extend my thanks to Dr. Fricker and to the amazing team and the board and everyone who helped out in the community. I know a lot of us needed help, and just seeing how we all came together was a really nice thing to see and to hear, like all the experiences, all the stories. So yeah, I'd like to thank you everyone for just being there for all of us. And yeah, with that, I'll start the reports. Alright. So elementary news, CHE, LE, and BOE. School interventions at all sites going strong. BOE has 40 Hawks participating this session. LE has 15 second graders participating in math intervention. And CHE has 31 third and fifth graders participating in core intervention. BOE Science Night is next Thursday. We will have the blacktop packed full of fun science activities, including community organizations here to showcase their various resources. Dental sealants will be taking place again across all elementary sites through May. Thank you, Mrs. Masakas. Our LPAC English Language Proficiency Assessments for California and the CASP SBA are well underway for students in grades 3, 4, and 5. LE continues to refine our literacy model that is in alignment with the Science of Reading, SOR, and the National Reading Panels research and 5 pillars of literacy development. CHE continues to emphasize and support PD around CAFE, comprehension, accuracy, fluency, expanding vocabulary, literacy strategies. Next up, NPH. NPH kicked off CAST season with 2 CAST prep days on May 10th and May 11th, utilizing an adjusted bell schedule with 1.5 hour testing period at the start of the school day. Students participated in ELA on May 10th and Math May 11th. NPH started the official CASP on May 17th with the support of CNS services, providing an exciting breakfast for all students and doors open early at 8:45 a.m. to support breakfast acquisition. Additionally, the NPH PTA brought in snack items for the 10-minute break after testing. Thank you, CNS and PTA, for making it a great day at NPH every day. NPH followed the lead of RHS and officially challenged Big Bear Middle School to the title of Peak Performer based on the highest CASP scores for the 2022 and 2023 school year. We are hoping this will be the start of a beautiful and competitive relationship. Thanks to Mr. Lindsay for initiating this exciting and mutually beneficial challenge. MHA and RVA. Principal Amador will be reporting MHS and RVA school information during her presentation on agenda item 11.2. And RFS. Spring sports are wrapping up a very strange season. We did, however, get a full league schedule in all 4 sports, and even are looking to earn a league championship first goal. Next week, baseball will have a home match Wednesday at 3:15 p.m. CASP testing has begun. This year, RHS challenged Big Bear High School to the first annual Peak Performer Challenge. The school with the highest CASP score will fly their flag over the other school next fall. Open house is scheduled for May 11th at 5:30. We will have our art show, a CTE showcase, freshman orientation, and a performance of a spring musical all in one night. Don't miss out on this exciting and jam-packed evening. Seniors have turned in their scholarship applications, and we have interviewed the students over the last 2 days. Students will be selected in the coming weeks, and scholarships will be awarded May 23rd. And that is all that I have for today. So, thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Mr. Williams, how long are they going to be flying our flag next fall?
I think it's just gonna be a photo op.
Oh, it's definitely a photo op.
Yeah, that will get taken down.
11 reports and presentations. 11.1, Rim of the World Educational Foundation would like to donate $22,071.78 to the Rim of the World Unified School District CTE ROP program. Funds will benefit students in the CTE ROP programs and Rim High School. What is CTE and what is ROP?
Career Technical,
Microphone, please.
Career Technical Education Regional Occupational Program.
Very good.
How's that?
And are we making that presentation now?
Yes.
Now?
Yeah.
Please.
With your permission, I'd like to invite Stephanie Phillips up to receive this.
Definitely.
And Brian.
Oh, and Mr. Williams.
And Sue.
And if you don't mind trying to use the microphone to whatever extent you can, so people online can hear you.
Be very happy to do that, and Priscilla will be happy to.
Congratulations, Priscilla.
Wow, Jen, too, or I did a bus.
The Rim of the World Educational Foundation was formed in 1983 to raise funds for programs and services in the Rim of the World Unified School District. A group of educators and community leaders volunteered to serve as the board of directors for this new nonprofit organization, which became incorporated in 1987 as a non-political, nonprofit 501c3. Over the past 40 years, the foundation's all-volunteer board has assisted in meeting the challenges of the Rim of the World Unified School District by making annual donations for the Avid program, individual student scholarships, the Partnership with Schools program, and tonight, the CTE ROP program. Tonight's donation of $22,071.78 will be used to fund the purchase of cameras and other audio-visual equipment for the RIM Reporters program at MPH.
In there.
Closer.
Wow, Jim Grant. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I am surprised at you invited Stephanie to come up. She's been with us for such a short time.
There's not a lot here going on tonight. Come on.
11.2, presentation of Mountain High School and RIM Virtual Academy school data by Educational Services. Our principal, please.
While Marina sets up, Michelle, please tell us your plans for after high school, because you cemented them and we are so excited for this. So tell us what you're doing real quick.
I'm planning on attending UCR and majoring in education and societal studies and all, become a teacher for elementary school. I'm hoping maybe I could come back up here or something.
You better come back up here.
I'm sure I know. Yeah.
You may know a couple people that.
I know.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Hi, you guys ready for me? I'm Marina Amador. I haven't had the privilege of meeting everybody on the board yet. Like, I got hired the Friday before school started and it's been on. So, Mountain High School. I'm going to start with Mountain High School. I have two different schools to present to you. I'm passionate about alternative education, as I'm sure you'll pick up on. We started out the school year with, and let me use the clicker so you can stay with me. We started out the school year with 46 students, which is very exciting. We've managed to maintain pretty close. We're at 44 currently. And I was instructed that you guys like to hear all the data around SIPSA goals, so that's what I worked on. So we have our SIPSA goal number one is to maintain rigorous, relevant, and engaging learning. And this is what our data has shown us from last year. We are very lucky to have a low suspension rate. Something that's very important to understand here, which I'm sure you've heard about, is that data is only reported, isn't reported when we're between 11 and 29 students for privacy issues. So you see a lot of that throughout all my data for both schools, because that's where I'm at currently. Working on that with RIM Virtual. So we scored, pretty COVID-like, as you would expect, but we've made some big shifts around. We've allowed this to inform how we are now doing our credits this year. So we made big shifts. So we're now issuing variable credits. So instead of having to do an entire unit to get your 2.5 credits or your 2 units for that semester, we're breaking it down into chunks. So you do this portion of the unit
this section of standards, you are issued variable credit. So it can be between 0.5 and 1 credit, which has helped with student engagement. They experience success more easily, feel more motivated. And you'll see later how well that has served us. We're actually really excited to see that change. And that's been working both in language arts, mathematics, and all our content areas. Comparatively, oops, went too fast. Comparatively, COVID happened. I don't know how else to, to point this out to you, but COVID happened and we don't have last year, we don't have 2 years worth of data. So I'm going to take fresh start here. I'm starting for 2022 and I expect to see 2023 better. We're doing a lot to try to make sure that all students participate. We have a plan in place and our goal is to not let a single 11th grader not take the test unless their parent opts in, but our goal is to capture them all. As I mentioned, our variable credits, we've seen students really engage and we've already issued out over 1,300 credits. Actually, today would be 1,305, but it's definitely more than this because we've had a lot of credits come in the last week. It's just like it is in a regular school. Everybody turns in that last chunk of work. For us, it's that last chunk of credits. So there's been a ton of credits just in the last few weeks because we finally are starting to get them engaged and realize, hey, June is not that far away. You need to graduate. So they're more motivated. We've already had 3 students graduate this month, one of them today. Yay. We're super excited. We pulled our graduations on Friday, which we just decided to this week. So Friday, we have 2 students that are going to be graduated. 10 more seniors are on track to graduate by June. We're working closely with them, and I will share with you how we're doing that in a bit too. So college and career readiness is our second focus, and this is how we are addressing it. We took our students on a field trip to San Bernardino Valley College, spent quite a bit of time, as you can see here, in their, I guess, CTE sections. That would be the best way to say it. They were really excited about the plane mechanic. We spent a lot of time in this building where there was welding. Students really liked this stuff. So we had a good group of students, a good showing for this, for our school. We're actually really excited, and we're planning Crafton Hills in the fall. We want to go to their senior day, which is really engaging, a full-length day. That's what we've decided to make our focus. We've also, thanks to all of you and so many others who have advocated for us, we hired a counselor.
Yay.
One of the coolest facts about our counselor is that she is a graduate from Mountain herself. And that has been powerful. We actually just did a Mountain High School intake yesterday, the 2 of us. And when she said to the student, I graduated from Mountain High School, he was like, oh. And his level of attention to what we were talking about, I could see a shift. Like that makes a difference. And then, yeah, we're really excited about her role. We share her with, we share with RVA, but we also share her with RIM High. So she spends 2 days a week in RIM High's College and Career and Wellness Center, I guess is what it is now. That role we feel is going to work really well for our kids because she's going to be able to bring those resources. We kind of have this one person, this knowledge base who's going to know what's going to work for our kids. She's already pushed out information about community college scholarships to all my teachers multiple times. But I was like, wow, how do you know this? But she's just in the right position. And I think this pairing is beautiful for all of us. And I think Lindsay's happy with it as well. So thank you very much for that. On the note of a hired counselor, which I didn't think to put in here, in December, we also got a science teacher, which is huge for our WASC because they look for a science lab. We're very excited. And now we're working on science lab in preparation for WASC. And she herself graduated from a continuation school, which has also been very powerful to hear her say to students and see their response. That we have 2 staff on campus who have personal experience with continuation schools and look at their success. So we're really happy with both of our new hires. High quality physical environment. We hired custodial 1 hour a day. This is Miss Patron. She does a great job. We actually don't have students complaining about the bathrooms anymore. That was our biggest complaint. And she's in there she gets it clean in there every day. She does not leave, and she will wait. If I'm on the phone or in a Zoom meeting, she waits the half hour until I'm done to vacuum the offices. Like, she's dedicated. She loves our campus, feels very connected to it. Our cafeteria is always clean now. And a big thing for me was my trash is emptied every day. That was driving me nuts, having stinky smelling trash for days. So we are very pleased with this. And also, she's taken it upon herself to start clearing some of the branches and some of our grounds, and it's looking really beautiful. I noticed this afternoon how much nicer it is. So she's taken pride in our campus, and this was a fantastic 1 hour hire to make such a difference for us and our students. And then again, thanks to so many of you, construction has begun. We're really excited. So we're going to be able to service students better. We'll have a counseling office where we can actually provide privacy for them to speak to a counselor. Principal's office, we can provide privacy for parents and students. Health office, which is huge. We haven't had a safe place to put students where they can be supervised yet meet their needs until the parent arrives. Secretary's office, student records room, massive. We're servicing privacy for students with that. A reception area, which I didn't picture. Well, you can kind of see Mountain High School's reception area in the background where there's that black chair. That's kind of already what you walk into. And then we plan to put in a parent center that'll be shared with RBA and Mountain, but we're working on how that's going to work. But we would like to see something there so that they can come in and have a computer or two, especially when our RBA parents come in on campus for orientations. We also thank you to all of you too. Again, we got a loudspeaker installed in March, which is fantastic. We did our earthquake drill yesterday. Felt like a real school. We weren't like texting and like running. Did you get the message? Oh no, they were at the bathroom. No, we actually had a whole campus. Everybody knew in the bathroom or not that we have an earthquake drill, duck and cover. And it went really well, very smoothly, got in and out. Super, super grateful for that. We feel more and more like a real school all the time. Parent and community engagement. How are we addressing it? We've made a lot of strides this year at Mountain High. If you haven't noticed, there's been a lot of growth. This is something we want to work on more. It's difficult to get parent engagement at a continuation school. Not only is it a continuation school, but it's 11th and 12th grade. This is just, I've been in education for 20 years. It's always the higher grade levels where we work more to engage. So we had one parent show up for back to school night. We've sent out so many parent squares trying to get parents to join school site council. And no one has showed up for a virtual coffee with the principal. We tried to make it more accessible to them because getting them on campus was proven not as successful with back to school night. But we are holding open house this again. We are determined to try. We're gonna try, not gonna fail. I want to give a big shout out to school site council member MJ Lanyon, who often is here for the Alpine Mountaineers. She's a community member who has served on school site council to help us out. We really appreciate that a lot. So she deserves recognition. What we have found is personal conversations with parents and guardians provides us with the most connection, especially through phone. A lot of our parents, they like regular communication, but they want a personal phone call. And we have our parents that's what we do. We communicate with them. That's what they prefer. Some prefer email, not as responsive to Parent Square. They like things personal. That is something else I've noticed, and it might be our population or just might be humanity. But we have noticed that as well. We've also started MHS intakes back in December, and it is a 1 to 2 hour intake depending on the needs of the students. We always start with trying to figure out why are you here? How did that happen? And address that issue and try to bring the parent in on that as well. It's been so successful. One of those students came to us, the one who graduated today, he came to us 7 weeks ago, and he's graduated now because that intake, we set his goal right then, his credit goal before he even walked into a classroom. So he had his focus. And again, creating a parents, we would like to create a parent center, which I already mentioned. Unless you have pressing questions, I'm gonna move right into RIM Virtual. I don't want to take up your whole.
Go ahead.
Okay. So RIM Virtual Academy, I don't know if you guys know, but this is what I did the last 5 years of my life as a virtual teacher. Very passionate about alt ed. I was in middle college prior to that. I've done alt ed now for 10 years. I believe in it. There's more than one right way to do it.
Our current enrollment as of today, I did a parent intake today. We have 132 students as of today. We have one more planning to come over that was displaced, but we haven't heard back yet. So we're working on trying to make contact. Rigorous, relevant, and engaging learning. What does the data say? Well, supposedly we had chronic absenteeism last year, which I find that interesting because we have very specific ed code about how we are allowed to run an alternative school, and we cannot have a school where students don't turn in work. And if they aren't turning in work, that's the only way you can have absenteeism. So that has been something that we've gone out of our way to support aggressively. And I will share with you how I'm doing that. English and language arts, we were low. We have worked really hard this year in communicating with parents. Again, we find individual connection to be the best thing. So our teachers have been talking to parents, talking to students, and this messaging has been going on for a while. We expect to see a really good turnout for the CAS. We also have made teachers more accessible to students. One thing that is really beautiful about the model that we have here is that because of the flexibility for our teachers in their working environment, they can match that flexibility for the students. Our ed code allows 24/7 access to curriculum. Our students can work anytime. But if you have a teacher limited to a brick and mortar environment and only accessible like 7 to 2, it's harder for the student and the parent to get the support they need. It's really beautiful that in this district, we allow our teachers to have the flexibility that can more closely match our students, which has, I have had teachers who text me at 7 at night, hey, I just met with this parent, blah, blah, blah. But they can do that because of the environment we allow them to work in, which has been amazing. And I see that really helps our students that they know their teachers are more readily available. We also have put into place math and English Zooms that go on weekly with a credentialed teacher within math and within English. We have Paper App, which is a 24/7 tutor chat support, and lots of ways for them to communicate with their teachers on demand in the moment. Text their teacher. We've created something that's more private and owned by the district because it's really important in that environment for students to communicate with teachers. Communication is huge. So we are going out of our way to support that. And again, I get a fresh start. So I'm very excited. Next year, I will have more to show you. Graduation rate, we had 4 seniors graduate in December. We have 11 seniors on track right now. They're being mentored by the RIM counselors very closely. So they are all on track to graduate from what I hear. And we're really excited about that. They're going to graduate with RIM High because that was their home, but they're going to have a stole. We've already ordered them, and it's going to have a RIM virtual, the logo on it. RVA 9th through 12th. Due to growing enrollment, we hired another teacher. He began at the semester. So when I came in, I remember one day I was like, what is our enrollment right when I came in? And I saw 55 students in Aries. Now we're at 132, and that's since August. It's grown, and it's been by word of mouth at this point because I'm putting in place what we need, what I know we need from having been a virtual teacher and tried a lot of different things in order to make this a really successful program that can meet the needs of many beyond just our district. My goal is to go big eventually, but I believe we have to lay a really good foundation first. We have to have all the supports in place. College and career readiness, how are we addressing it? So we did attempt to come right in and hold a tour for Cal State in fall. We didn't have, we're still working to build those relationships. We only had 2 students respond. It didn't end up panning out we didn't pay for a bus for 2 students. So that didn't end up working out, but we've made that a goal going into next year. And we've been establishing those relationships and more of that focus for college and career readiness, which wasn't in place before. Our teachers have created really strong relationships with students about their lives, their future. We will be WASC certified in June. That is for sure happening. We've been working on the evidence. We've had 2 meetings. Oh no, it's happening. I have a good relationship with our WASC coordinator, our WASC rep from WASC. I know who it is, and we've been talking since August. I didn't know that she was going to be mine, but she actually went and volunteered to be ours after our conversation. She's very impressed with RIM Virtual and my vision for it.
And I mean, I was on the phone with her when I had COVID, like could barely speak. And she's like, you're dedicated. I can't wait to see what you're doing. I'm kind of tempted to sign up for it. And when I looked, she actually signed up for it. So I'm very excited to work with her. Spanish, I discovered early on that we did not have a Spanish class or a language offered. It is against the law for a virtual school not to be A through G. And we got kids in the Spanish class immediately. We implemented that. So we are compliant now, and we are an A through G program. Also, my prior school, we used California colleges, which starts with 9th grade, works through 12th. They start out with like a personality assessment, suggest careers, and they get to do these interactive things and explore just online different careers. So by the time they hit 11th grade, they know what colleges would service that career. So 9th and 10th, they're just little modules they do throughout the semester. And by 12th grade, we have through college and careers, California colleges set them up for a college and career. We've got them applying, they've done the FAFSA, and then our counselor has looked into this because I suggested it, our new counselor, and she is impressed. So we really hope, like our goal is to implement that, put that into our SIPSA and have that going in August. Which brings me to the counselor. We hired Mrs. Mills. She already is meeting with our 9th through 11th. We have plans, different meetings set up with the different teachers in the next 2 weeks to talk to 9th and 11th. As I said, our 12th is already set up. They're good to go. They've been set up. The counselors at RIM have been supporting them. So her focus is 9th and 11th right now and create that college and career readiness going into next year. So we are establishing that foundation to get them talking about their future. We're also working on SEL. Right now, we're referring our lower grades TK through 8th and on an as needed basis to her. She has plans to go and sit with a middle school counselor and a an elementary counselor so that she can also provide support there. But right now, our focus is get students graduate, get her oriented, learn our system, get her in office. She also has a goal that she mentioned to me of holding a weekly Zoom potentially, or maybe it'd be bi-weekly, to actually create a space for students to come and talk and like interact with each other, which that fits my bigger vision for a virtual school. There is a lot you can do to create social interaction without students even walking on a campus if you have the right individuals who can consistently be available. High quality physical environment. What has changed? So we aren't pulling students on campus, but what we've done to change our culture and our environment as a school is I've started intakes. We implemented those in December, and they are individual, last 30 to 40 minutes, depending on the situation, again, because we have to meet the needs of the student. And the parent has to be there. So it's full disclosure, everybody's on the same page. Accountability is made very clear, not only for the student, but it's explained in great detail how a parent is a learning coach, not an instructional coach, a learning coach within this environment. They do have to help the student engage with learning, creating a quiet space, making sure that they remember their charger if they go someplace, like little tiny things just to help engage or coach the learning. Students are assigned their teachers by grade level, which has created a safer environment because they're amongst their own in meetings. When we bring topics up, it's appropriate, age appropriate. We've seen engagement dramatically increase. And I was told in January when we took on some more students, a parent was like, hey, I brought the one kid over. I knew it was going to be okay. Really happy with what we had for a semester. So they brought the others over, the ones they weren't sure would make it. And they're doing really well. So the level of engagement that we've created has actually brought more students over to us. Sorry, Wilmsy. He's told me to stop stealing these kids. All students have daily access to their teachers. And we've done this in a variety of ways. Again, they can text, they have Calendly where it's a booking agent, so they don't have to send 3 emails to get a Zoom. They go click, Zoom links automatically generated to both people. So super simple, teachers there, students there, they can get instant or pretty instant help. It's usually within an hour. Teachers use Google Voice. We have parents who use that. We have Class Dojo. Communication is key in this environment. Homeroom. So we do instructional Zooms, and we also at times use it like a homeroom, which is where our counselor is going to go and meet with our students. And we do follow ed code at this point. We're holding what we need to daily, what we need to once a week, but we are providing daily interaction and adding in extra support. So like 4th grade math, they do extra Zooms throughout the month on top of their once a week Zoom that's mandatory. 5 through 12 meets once a week, and we always hold makeup Zooms for everybody. We hold office hours daily. One of my middle school teacher has been on campus the last 2 days, and she drops everything when a student emails her and hops in. That is the most important thing, is that we can be flexible and do that when we need to for our students. Weekly tutoring, I mentioned that, and I have a goal of creating intentional in-person meetups for students. It's really hard to implement that in the middle of the year. I see that starting with CASP here. Parents buy into it better, but I would really like to have in-person labs. So I see potential for a science lab on our campus that services our RVA as well. And that science teacher wants to do it. She's so excited. But we need a lab. A through G schools, you have to have a lab. We're not A through G, we're not college and career ready without that lab. So that is something that's really important to us that we want to implement for them. And that's a great opportunity to create connection so that they aren't isolated at home. That is one of the biggest issues that I've seen. And I've tried several different models. The school I was at, I helped open it, was one of the founding teachers. I was at it for 5 years. We tried a hybrid model where students came in 2 days a week, tried many different iterations to see what works. And virtual is what is best to meet all student learning needs, because you have, like, I had a student who was an Olympic ice skater contender until she broke her ankle. That's not somebody who can come in 2 days a week. You can't do that. And those kids are going to charter schools. Those are the kids who can get help at 10 o'clock at night. Well, I'm not going to expect that on my teachers, but they can get help. They can access their teacher. They can get help. My neighbor here in Crestline is actually a charter school online teacher. She's always working like random hours throughout the day, but she has that flexibility. So she's able to service those students, and that's where those kids go. I see a vision for us to pull those back in. But so there's different ways to do it. I really want to have intentional in-person interaction, but it needs to be intentional, like a science lab, CAS testing. I think we can find some ways to do that at all grade levels to really create that connection and make RVA awesome. We have, of course, you already heard about the construction, but I did want to acknowledge, we plan on having an RVA reception area. This is where we do in-person intakes. I do virtual intakes with our 6th through 12th, because that's mainly how they're going to interact, and they're responsible for communicating in the Zoom. For our lower grade levels, we have in-person. We bring the parent in because the parent does more support. They're a much more involved learning coach. So they actually sit down with the teacher and we show them how to log in. We save it on the Chromebook for them. So we actually need a space for our elementary teachers to meet with the parents. So we do have a reception area. We also put out materials for them every 6 weeks, like the new bag for the art activity for that 6 weeks, or our teachers work. They're amazing. They really work hard. All of my teachers do, Mountain too. They work really hard. Parent and community engagement. How are we addressing it? So we didn't have anybody show up to virtual coffee with the principal. We tried, but we do have active involvement in school site council, which is very exciting to see. They show up where they know it counts. They come in every time they come in for something. We have all of our elementary come in for in-person testing for all their benchmarks, and the parents always make a point to say hi to me, which makes me feel special. They all know my name, and I haven't met all of them even, but they know who I am, and they always say hi, which I appreciate. Parents are very responsive, again, to direct and personalized communication. That's something I've noticed with both of my schools. They prefer that, and they will respond if I communicate to them directly, not just parent square. I'm gonna get a better response. We have seen a dramatic success with students after the intake. My teachers have pointed that out, and the number of emails I get with parents wondering why you do this and what's happening here. I've zero. I've had zero since we started implementing the intakes, because the questions are answered up front. I already know what the objections are. We address them. Long-term independent study contract was updated and board approved by you. Now we're working. Our big goal now is to go back and retro it to August. Staple them all together, get it all done. It's a big task, but we will be ed code compliant hopefully here in the next couple of weeks. Jenny's working to support me in that. Thank you. We are creating a parent center as well. That is one of our goals we want to put into our SIPSA. I already mentioned it. So we have computers, especially for those parents that come in and and hopefully create a space where they feel like they belong on our campus. Hopefully that will help too. All right, that is the end, and I hope I didn't break any records.
Marina, first off, thank you for the announcement of WASC approval.
Oh, yes, it's gonna happen.
Isn't that what we heard?
Yes, so it's an initial visit. I don't know, like I've done an initial before, so your initial is usually a 1 day. And then we're year 1, it's usually 3 years. But it will give us WASC certification to issue diplomas, retro to August. But it is initial. We do expect a follow-up visit next year. That's normal until you're an established school.
Well, thank you for all the work
Yes,
that
you're
you've done on that. But I do have a very important question. Are you participating in the peak peak contest?
I was not
The
invited.
peak performance?
Each invited themselves.
Or are you part of their team?
Conversation. I feel like I feel like I'm part of like Wilmsy. I can't do this job without my colleagues. Wilmsy is a huge support. We are very collaborative and very supportive on all levels, from security all the way up. Like, he's a good neighbor.
Good, that's good. I want to also say thank you for working on the communication and the actual interaction where you're actually trying to get students together, even on online. I was speaking to a student just this last week who was saying that's one of the things that I'm looking forward to that I'm missing right now is how to have that interaction with other students. So thank you for working on that. There's a lot of things I'd like to applaud, but I'm going to open up to anyone on the board who has a question or comment.
Wait right there, because you just brought up a good point that I wish I had mentioned. So one thing we put in place, it took a little bit, is a multi-campus agreement with Rim High. So our students can play sports. The awareness around that wasn't there as much. It's been something I've been mentioning in intakes, but I see starting the school year is a great opportunity. And then they also have invited our students to participate in activities. I think that's effective now. Eventually, we're going to need to do our own as they don't feel as connected to Rim High, but currently that's effective.
And that actually took CIF approval too.
Yes, that was a big
That
deal.
we got
But
by-
Can students also participate in music, in the arts as well?
So that's a different issue. No, at the moment, no. And that's a bigger issue because we're looking at students coming onto campus. That requires a higher level of coordination. Not that it could ever be out of the question, but Wilmsy and I would need to do a lot of planning. I have, if you haven't heard, I have a big vision. I have a lot of things that need to be put in place prior to that I think need to be addressed. The biggest one, WASC. I see that as huge. You see doorways approval. Like I see a lot of things I want to put in place. Our new curriculum that's coming in, I didn't mention that one either. Sure. And Edgenuity, it's going to give us the option for honors and AP, which I also want to help move in the direction of, starting with honors next year, which would be really huge for our kids. So
And which one is that?
So what? What did that do? We're all dying over here.
We like your vision. You like your vision.
Oh, am I inaccurate? I'm not gonna get it.
No,
Oh.
just.
Okay.
They're all being positive. But please repeat the name of it louder for me. Marina, please repeat. Would you kids behave?
I got it. I can be sometimes, but I eventually. I am smart.
Marina, ignore that because we like what you're doing. But would you please repeat, what is the new program that you're going to be using?
The one I hope.
Yes, yes, that they're trying to laugh it out. After we approve it, what are we going to do?
I hope you approve Edgenuity. I've worked with it before. It has honors AP. It also offers special ed curriculum. I'm purchasing for RIM virtual itself. I would like to purchase all the extra support so I can actually do a better job. Currently, special ed kids I can't service very well with our current curriculum at all. There's just not much modification. It provides a lot of in-depth stuff. There's like an on-demand in-app tutor, SEL lessons, interventions, short little interventions I can do for math and English to help kids when they're low. There's all kinds of stuff.
Sounds like you might want to talk to the school board about that. Scott, do you have a question or comment?
Love your enthusiasm. That's why.
Like I said,
When's the back to school night?
May 25th, if I'm remembering correctly. Is that a Wednesday? Yeah, that's a Wednesday.
Well, hold on, I'll look for you.
It's a Wednesday, May 24th? It's a Wednesday.
Yes.
24th, May 24th. It's a Wednesday.
Thank you.
Jordan?
Are you gonna come?
Jordan and I are coming.
Wonderful.
That is my spouse's birthday, but
Oh.
maybe. Maybe we can make a date night of it. I think.
Are you talking to me? You talking about your spouse or you talking about me?
We could do something like that. Thank you very much for that. It's very informative presentation.
Okay.
I would be curious, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but maybe it's something you could think about. I'd be very curious because I know that administration is and will continue to support you. But I'm curious what types of things, if anything, from a support perspective, you would want and ask of the board. What would you need in an ideal world to build out that vision?
I can answer that. It's ingenuity.
So again, something to think about. I don't want to put you on the
And
spot.
Canvas. I need Canvas as well. I'm not this year because I can only onboard staff one at a time, but in the future, I would like Canvas. That would be very helpful. So we can do a lot more with it. And that would, as I get more, because this is my goal, to grow it, as I get more teachers specialized in their credentialed area, we can do more supplemental stuff, and Canvas is a great avenue for that. It allows us to do a ton more. You can actually create tests and quizzes where the students are sent back to a lesson if they answer something a certain way, and it sends them directly back to the link that will help them revisit it, and then they can go back and re-answer. So there's all kinds of cool things that it does. You can do this, you can do things on an individual basis within one room with one assignment. So I don't right now, Google Classroom is pretty flat. You want to do different things for different kids. It's almost impossible. But with one assignment I post, I can add the kid, and then I have settings for that kid. I could give them 5 minutes on it, 10 minutes, lock them out, give it to somebody else, change their dates. There's all kinds of really cool individual things you can do that would happen in a regular classroom that you can't do in Google Classroom. I, in a regular classroom, can take this group of kids, get them started on something else, and give this kid extra time to work. You can do that in the Canvas classroom, but it's still virtual. Anyway.
Canvas is a learning management system.
Oh.
And we have talked about it as a board and with Mark before. And so that's something that we would want to look at if it's applicable across the district or if it's just applicable in RIM virtual. So that's our next year's task at hand. So it's on your 3-year plan, yes?
Yes. Curriculum is first. We got to address curriculum so I can meet the need of more students. That is huge. Looking at that special ed and then the high, we got to do the whole entire span of those specialized populations, not just the gen ed, which is all I'm addressing right now with Odysseyware.
I appreciate that.
And I know Odysseyware well. I used it as a teacher when I started too. So I mean, it's not terrible.
Well, I can only speak from a personal perspective on Canvas, but I do enjoy the features that offers. I really like that it aggregates all of your assigned tasks and creates kind of like an automated to-do list based on due dates.
Yes.
It's kind of cool. But again, that's my personal perspective.
Ingenuity does a similar thing
Oh,
with your class tiles, and yes.
good to know. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, I think I could answer that more. Give me some more time to think about it, but I would love to answer that in more detail. Next year, I will think about that question.
Absolutely. And and as Dr. Kirk mentioned, I think I look forward to seeing that 3-year plan that is probably inclusive of all that.
Is that supposed to? Really?
May 1st.
Evaluation.
Can I just tell you everything that's happening? 2 schools is a lot. I'm trying really hard.
We have consultants, we have help.
Okay.
If they ask you to do something, just ask for their help.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Yes, I just
Yes.
want to say thank you.
Yeah.
The experience you brought to the position, what you're doing with both Mountain High and with RVA is fantastic. And I know we're in the infancy.
Yes.
It'd be lovely to start seeing RVA grow from students that aren't already in the district, but
Yes.
through word of mouth, that's going to happen. And we also, as a district, need to figure out how to be able to communicate better with the community about all these wonderful things that are going on.
Yes,
But I really, really appreciated your presentation.
Thank you. We actually had one elementary parent who was in RVA last year, left, worked with Carla Lewis. She's she's so good with our kids. Left, went to Sage-Oak, is that, she's already made plans to come back in the fall. So that's huge. That's huge. But I expect as we build out opportunities where we can service honors and all, because these kids, like the student I had who was an Olympic contender, these are the kids who want the honors classes. And if we aren't providing that, they're not going to come. So we've got to be able to service those needs and those desires.
I know you already have so much on your plate, but with your talk, one of the things that came to mind, which you're probably already doing, is developing some sort of a Mountain High alumni network. I'm thinking of a former student of mine who's currently graduated from Mountain, who's currently going to Fullerton. And
Love
just
that.
thinking that there's probably all sorts of Mountain High graduates
There are, yeah.
that would also, I don't know, just
No, I love it. I'm not there yet, and I see having a counselor would be a good way to start that. She would definitely be passionate about that. She is devoted to Mountain. We're on the same campus she graduated from, so that's been really cool too, to hear her stories. Like, that's where I stood when I graduated, and took my picture. I love that. Thank you. That's a good one.
Anyone else? Marina, thank you so
You're
much.
so welcome. Thank you for your
Appreciate
time.
Okay, she's a fellow Woo. She is working on heading to Washington DC. I know she will have a very short report because she's got a long one coming when she returns from Washington DC. 11.3 legislative update report, Board of Trustees, Trustee Gardner.
Thanks. Actually, it's kind of lengthy. Sorry. Okay, so in Sandabs, Kevin Gordon reported that revenue is down even further. The governor was way too optimistic. And so not only do we have, it's about 5 billion worse, 10 billion over 2 years. So we won't know well into the next fiscal year before we know the true revenue, because taxes are not due till October. As we said, or as he has said before, the budget, the May revise, and even the June budget are going to be our best guess budgets. And we won't have true revenue knowledge until halfway through our school year, and which is a little bit scary, because if we continue on this trajectory, I don't want to say the words mid-year cuts, but you never know. So we should expect a budget based on this more troubling information. The budget will probably have built into it trigger cuts. So if the Jenny's like, great, just great, just.
Makes my eye twitch.
Yes.
We've done that.
Because we've
had
done that.
those before.
Yes, so if the revenue gets down to a certain, into certain layers, then that would automatically trigger cuts, which coming mid-year again is just one of the worst situations ever. There is still an ongoing debate whether we're going to fully fund COLA. Remember, COLA goes directly to our base, which is where we want the money to go. Again, the Legal Analyst Office, LAO, Mr. President, is suggesting maybe we don't fully fund COLA and short it, but we'll see how this all works out, because then shorting COLA will help balance the budget. Jenny, your eye okay over there? Okay, just checking. I know Jordan over there is having a heart attack right now. So the budget, the news is not great. The intention is not to touch our reserve at all. They're trying. He's just
Okay.
to not touch the rainy day reserve or the Prop 98 reserve. They're looking at different ways to be able to fund the cuts that are probably going to happen. In regards to the art music block grant, which started at 3.6 billion and 1.2 billion is proposed in cuts. Interesting, because initially you go, oh, the money's gonna go out. Who's gonna be the Grinch who stole Christmas and steal that money back from districts? Well, guess what? The money is being held now by the CDE. It hasn't been dispersed to school districts. So guess what? There's a pot of money that is, people are now willing to look at to take from to balance the budget. So that'll be interesting, and it's really kind of disappointing because there are districts that really had encumbered or started spending that money. Prop 28, which again, art music, voter approved by the voters. It's supposed to supplement, not supplant. And so what right now the debate on this is what constitutes the funding we have been spending currently that we have an ongoing obligation to versus supplementing. So does one-time money that we've received, booster money, PTA money, all those monies that are just one-time, one-off monies, are they going to be considered or not considered about with our ongoing obligations? So the lobbyists are like, no, it should not be part of our considered ongoing obligations without the help of Prop 28 money. I hope that all makes sense. Really about trying to make sure that the intent of the bill is really carried out well. In terms of bills, there were a lot, I told you there were a lot of curriculum bills, climate change, financial literacy, your favorite. Well, there's a real hesitancy about from the legislators to approve new curriculum. They want to hold tight and not introduce anything new. We only have 180 days and so many instructional minutes, and we keep adding things. We keep adding to the graduation requirements. And so therefore, there's really a hesitancy to approve new curriculum. So I guess, the message went out. If you want new curriculum, you better make a great argument for it, because we're really going to hold tight and not introduce more on our schools, which we have been advocating for. We just want to settle into what has been given to us instead of adding new programs. In regards to bills, the AB 659, the cancer prevention one that I brought up last time, the language was amended. It would be required, the word required for higher education, meaning college students, that vaccination, the HPV vaccination. However, the language is changed to TK through 12. Instead of requiring it, it would have schools send advice letters to parents about the California policy that students be fully vaccinated by 8th grade. So this is concerning because now we're becoming health advisors, we're becoming medical advisors, and that's not our job as school districts. So even with the change in language, this is still concerning. The good thing is that it's kind of sitting there, not really moving very much. So that's kind of a good sign. Then another bill that I want to talk about is the one, Jordan, that we all were kind of watching, which is SB 98 by Senator Portantino about the education funding model. It did make it out of committee. This is the one that would go from ADA to average daily membership, not completely on enrollment. Two problems with this bill. First of all you're doing is taking the same pot of money, but you're scrambling it up differently. And there's going to be losers and there's going to be big winners. So you're not growing the pot. Unless you grow the pot, this really doesn't fix any problem at all. The other one is that there's a component in it that would restrict some of this money that right now we have that goes to us as local control. It would say this amount of money, you now are restricted to use it for attendance incentives. You have to use it for attendance incentive. So which the whole idea is if you're moving to enrollment-based funding, the concern is that you're not rewarding for attendance. It doesn't really matter if kids are coming to school because you're going to get paid based on your enrollment. So this hybrid model would say, well, we recognize we're moving away from ADA to average daily membership. We want to make sure your attendance stays high. So we're going to restrict some of this money to force you to come up with an attendance incentive plan. So those are, again, local control. You're going, why are you putting more parameters and almost categorical? A categorical is built within this bill. Senator Portantino, this bill's heading to Senate Appropriations where he chairs it. He chairs it. So expect it to move on from appropriations. So just letting you know. How convenient for him. Then his last bill has to do with teacher credentialing. It's called the Interstate Teacher Mobility Compact. And it's Senate Bill 811, which is interesting. This bill would ratify the Interstate Teacher Mobility Compact, the purpose of which is to facilitate the mobility of the teachers across member states with the goal of supporting teachers through a new pathway to getting their license, then credentialing in other districts. So the cool part is that if you're part of this member compact, you have these agreements between yourself. So if someone from Colorado comes to California, because you have these agreements, the teacher can go right away. Right now, this has passed in Utah, Colorado, and Kentucky. The following states, it's kind of pending, like in California. We have Washington, Oregon, Nevada, Hawaii, Nebraska, New Jersey, Kansas, Alabama, Oklahoma, Mississippi, Indiana, Louisiana, Ohio, and Florida. So the thing that we talked about in stand-ups is we want California to be one of the first 10, because the first 10 states to approve this and become part of this compact get to define the parameters. And we want California to be part of that conversation to make sure that our high standards are built within that compact. I'm not saying we should dictate it, but we should definitely be part of that conversation. So we'll see how that goes. But again, trying to address the teacher shortage in the quickest way possible without compromising your standards. That's really about what some of these bills on credentialing are about. Here you go. See, it wasn't too bad though. Lots of doom and gloom on the budget though.
Yeah.
I
thanks.
wasn't a happy
Thanks,
person.
Cindy.
Jordan, you doing okay over there, buddy? Look at, he's speechless. He's speechless. He's about to keel over.
Excuse me, do you want the gavel?
No.
I don't want to be between you two.
Cindy, there was a bill, I apologize, I don't have my notes here with me, that was going to,
Gender neutral.
it was going to actually change the authority of who determines curriculum in the state, moving it back to the state away from local educational authorities. Has that been dropped? Are you familiar with the one I'm talking about?
Yeah, I'd have to look to see. I think
I was looking for it yesterday and couldn't find it, so I wasn't sure.
that one was not brought up to stand-ups, but I can email James Field, our representative in the San Bernardino County, who will contact Capital Advisors on gender neutral bathrooms, by the way. It did pass out of committee, but the interesting part, it goes to appropriations because there's no money attached and there is going to be a cost to do this. It's likely to maybe not get out of appropriations. I know Eric Swanson from Hesperia stated that they started looking at this, and the cost to Hesperia is like millions and millions and millions of dollars. And when I'm not gonna, because this was on YouTube and I don't want to get Eric in trouble, but when he said the cost, I almost killed over my chair and thought, holy, we can't afford, and where's the space? So anyways, that particular bill has issues that are concerning even to the legislators about the costs because there's nothing built into it and it's not in the budget.
If you can find that, because I know I was looking for it yesterday, and sometimes things are somewhat hidden that are coming up, but anything that is going to limit local educational authority, I think is a big concern and should be a big concern to local boards like ours. Thank
And
you,
it's
Cindy, for your work.
curriculum, right?
Right. Anyone else to Cindy? Thank you. 11.4 Equity and Social Justice Committee Report, Board of Trustees. I am not announcing another meeting until it actually happens because snow occurs every time. So no further comment on Equity and Social Justice Committee report. Is that okay? We will move on then. 12.0 discussion and information items. Number 1, update of the budget and enrollment report. Jenny Haberlin, Chief Business Official. Jenny.
Thank you.
While she's moving out there, Mark, I'm not sure that speaker is working any longer, at least tonight. Just the one that's used to, not the microphone, but the speaker itself that directs work does. It may be working and your president is deaf, but. What was that? Hi, Jenny.
Hi.
Congratulations on your recognition from the county.
Oh, thank you, thank you. I had brought that letter too, so I wasn't sure, because we've been reading them out loud. So I've got a great relationship with the county. So they're great to work for, but they're also they're a great asset for us to when we have questions and how they monitor the different so some funds and information and send that down to us. So they do some legwork for us, especially with the budget. So, because some of the schedules, when you go on the CDE, you're like, where do I find this funding and where? So they do a good job to try to help us out. So I am presenting on the budget and enrollment. And I've just passed out our monthly graphs that we send you each month. And I'll just briefly talk about it. Our current enrollment is 2,876 students. It's slightly lower than last month, but it's actually higher than this point in time last year. Yep. And so you can see these last 3 years, the lines, the graph lines are crisscrossing each other at different points. So we are still in a kind of wait and see in a post-COVID, but then also post-storm environment on what will that do to our enrollment. So, and we'll just really, monitor it closely, not only the enrollment, but then the corresponding attendance rate, because that is the average daily attendance. ADA is, how we're funded for the majority of our dollars. So our current ADA is just under 2,600, which is about an 89.9% attendance rate. We're at 2,587.03. And the information's here for your review. And right now, none of our schools are hitting the 95% attendance rate. But that
Not even RBA?
Not even, well, and this data was as of the cutoff date was our P2 date, which was March 24th. So cumulative attendance rate from the start of school to March 24th. Not all of our schools are meeting that target, but I think too, we still have absences from COVID. We are seeing, lower spikes than we thought we would, spikes at different times. And it's really it's there when we get notified of a case, it's trickling in like one every 3 weeks
or something like that. In fact, the CDP, I mean, this isn't a report on COVID, but you know, even the reporting requirements and the notification requirement, and even the return to school and work requirements, you know, while we were in Snowmageddon, those requirements were even lessened more since they were in the early part of the year. So we're not seeing so many absences due to that. So we'll just see, anticipating our attendance rate to bounce back next year.
Question as far as attendance, do we know what's happening in other districts around the state in terms of attendance rates?
Just, I mean, I don't have like numbers, but going just to the CBO meetings or you know, and chit chat, we're all in the same boat. You know, especially with last year, they gave us that ADA relief because we were all in the same boat. The state right at average, you know, for all of us. It doesn't seem like any of this is unique to RIM.
And Jen, I meant to ask Marina this, really relates to you too. The enrollment is up significantly in RVA. But
Even since the last time we've audited.
now is
well,
that
then-
new, my question is that new students or is that students that are moving over from RIM High School or from?
Marina can answer if there's any of the singletons that are moving from another school district, but my information is the majority are moving within our district.
Majority are moving within the district.
We do have a few coming in and they're coming straight to us. They
Mhm.
want to come straight to us. But I would say we have 4 or 5 this semester who come in straight to us and out of insurance.
So for those
Or
not hearing the microphone, there's been 4 or 5 students that have moved in from
Straight
other
from a
schools,
district,
straight transfers, not from within the district. Good. Thank
that's
you.
what she said.
That was from Marina, but yes.
Okay, and so just a quick update on enrollment and our waiver. So our waiver has been approved by the county schools
Oh,
and has been expedited to the CDE. So this is new information.
wow.
So we had, yeah, so that was, you know, new information. Actually, when I had to gather some signatures on that Tuesday night, and then Wednesday, Scott White in my office, he actually drove it down to the county because I didn't want any. I mean, one of us there's some people that live down the hill, you know, that were like, we don't want a delay in the mail or even our courier. And he drove it down to the office that reviews it. By the time he got back to the office, he got the email saying we're expediting it to the CDE. So, and it's Ginger Sanchez who works down there. She's great too. So she's been there a long time.
And to just clarify, that's with the county,
County,
not necessarily government.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
yeah. So
What's that, Jordan?
Oh, that's the first step, and then.
So, but the county, that first level of eyes, though, is they're screwed. That's why they had us add a supplemental page and get new signatures, because they're looking for what could kick that waiver back or questions that the state may have. So that's actually a good layer in between that they could do that first round of review for us, and to have the county superintendent also sign off on it was a positive.
If you can't pass that, you're not going to get through to the governor.
Right, they wouldn't even send it on, you know, we don't even mail it directly to the CD from our office, it goes from their office, so. And then just where the second interim was approved on March 23rd, you've read that letter, thank you very much. And part of that letter, they did kind of in that body of the data that was within the multiple tables, you know, they did appreciate that we're proactive, you know, with looking at our budget. And then they suggested that we might want to develop contingency plans to the potential changes in the governor budgets. So that's not a requirement. We don't have to come to board with an approved fiscal solvency plan, but it's something that I'm sure that's in every district's letter, you know, for what they see on the horizon also is to have, you know, some contingency, like what ifs as we move into the 23-24 budget. Most of the work
in building the 23-24 budget really starts in May for the bulk of the financial data, but my team, we already started doing their individual tasks. We have to do some stuff in the systems. We have to open up models in the new year. We have to do roles. We have to open up. It's kind of like a modeling system. It's actually a brand new module within the financial 2000 system. So, which is the county developed software. So this is the first time we're really going to be building the budget by scratch within some of these platforms and some of the processes. So, but the county schools tend to write their software with very similar looking steps. So to run a report, you do XYZ, whether you're in accounts payable, whether you're in budgeting, whether you're in, whatever module you're in payroll. So it'll be a little bit of a learning curve between Scott and I in my office, but I'm sure they're usually very helpful if we, it's not, I don't anticipate you, but it is learning a new software kind of as we're building the 23-24 budget. So, and that's all I have for you this evening.
I have a couple of comments and a question. For start building towards next year, just wanted to state some appreciation about how we're already looking at master schedules for next year and doing that planning. I like the fact that we're working so far ahead of how we've done it in the past and getting that money ahead of time. Interesting to look at the enrollment numbers, school sites, elementaries, we're really up higher than projected, and it's pretty cool to see. Question was related to Saturday school. I remember there being mentioned the other day at the superintendent forum that we do have some Saturday schools scheduled. Will that help us with our attendance?
Any absence before our P2 cutoff date, which is the March 23rd or 24th, our funding cutoff date. Saturday schools that we do to make up attendance prior to that date will help us because we will actually revise our period 2 attendance report and resubmit it to the state. So if we recapture bless you, by making up days that are prior to this March date, then that will help us. But it all depends on how it's organized and pardon me?
And who attends? Like,
Yeah,
who
who attends.
attends? Have to be absent in order
Yeah.
to play that day. So that would be the hope though.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I personally sent my kids to Saturday school when they didn't always have absences. I was like, well, you're going to, even though we can't bank it. I was like, yeah, but you have to go. But sometimes they did have an absence when they were doing that at Grandview. So, but yes, I was one of the parents that I did send Johnny to a couple Saturday schools when he didn't even have an absence yet. But it's good for you and your friends are going.
Just a quick clarification, that last sheet says the enrollment summary for 2021-22. Is that just a typo or is this?
That is a typo.
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay. Thank you.
I might have been there all year, to be honest. We'll fix that. Thank you.
Anything else, board? I think it should be noted that Rim High School has the highest attendance rate. Marina.
Which makes me wonder about maybe having some sort of a challenge with Big Bear for next year over attendance.
See how the first one goes.
Thank you very much.
Okay, trustees. 12.2, begin discussion on Board of Trustees self-evaluation.
Oh, okay.
Or Dr. Fricker, you want to have any comment there?
I do. So in the normal course of business, the board can go into a self-evaluation process. Usually they have this annually, but the board would have to collectively have a discussion and decide to begin the evaluation process. And then through my office and to read, we would send out the materials to you to begin that process. And then you would complete those materials, come back at a following meeting and then have the discussion.
So usually we've used CSBA. It's an online service, so we just open it up. I think it costs just $100. And then you guys would contact CSBA to open it, and we get the email, and then we take the survey. And then the results are automatically calculated, so nobody's having to hand do one.
Now, last year, I think we chose not to use CSB, did it more in-house with the superintendent, didn't we?
No, we did CSBA. And then, but what you're thinking of, Phil, is that we took the results and Michelle guided the conversation to extrapolate which areas we wanted to improve upon and work on as a board together collectively on ourselves to hold ourselves accountable. And that part was done in-house instead of hiring somebody or getting somebody from the county to guide us through that. Michelle did that. So that was the in-house process. Bill, you're right, we did do it.
Thank you. Jordan, you had a thought there?
I was just going to note that it is part of our board goals for the year to do a self-evaluation, so I definitely think we should, if that's the question, or part of the discussion.
It's actually in board policy.
Bingo.
Yes. Deanna?
What I wonder about is possibly, I know in other jobs that I've had, we've had a 360-degree review where it isn't just us evaluating ourselves. The election process is a way of us being evaluated, definitely, but wondering about whether we have the desire or whether it makes sense to seek feedback outside of our own 5 and survey, maybe in some way that is constructive. Various groups that we do interact with in order to be able to get some feedback elsewhere too.
Do you have a thought on how to do that?
I can think about it and I would take it on. So I know that with other positions that I've had, it has been, say, a supervisor who's gone through and gotten feedback from vendors, from peers, from subordinates, from management to be able to get that whole 360-degree view. I could definitely put some thought into it if it was something that we desired to do, and imagine all of y'all would probably have some excellent input as well.
Could we avoid the people on the right side of the table?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think our board president is saying, can we reduce the burden? Asking this of the folks on the right side of the table. I would be interested in exploring that possibility. I think it would have to be a very focused set of questions, much more concise than the CSBA self-evaluation survey, which is, I forget how many, 50 or something questions and 10 or so different categories. And so I think it would have to be very focused, and we'd have to be very tactical on making sure that whatever feedback that we collect is feedback that we can act upon. So if somebody says, board is horrible at communicating outward to the community, we should have at some point, some way, maybe the question should be more focused on how can the board better communicate with the community? That is much more actionable than whether or not somebody feels like we're communicating enough, just how could we do better? Is one example of that.
Thanks, Jordan.
And that actually goes to that area in the CSBA evaluation about communication or communication to the community. So that would validate if we decided that was something that we really needed to work on collectively through the survey, that would reinforce that that's an area of need if we get that back from the community.
It seems like the use of CSBA has been good as a portion of that evaluation. So it would seem like we ought to continue that part of the process.
I would, instead of reinventing the wheel, because it's just an easy tool. It already gives you colors, and obviously if you're red in the area, that might be someplace that you want to focus on for the next year.
I would agree, because we've established a baseline, at least since I've been on this board, through that CSBA process, so we can look historically through there. Unlike the California dashboard, where it changes every year and we have to create new baselines each and every year. I'd like us to be able to have one area where we can look back historically on have we improved or have we gotten worse.
Scott, it actually is an evaluation that looks at and asks different questions of each board member. How are we communicating with one another? What are we doing in our role as board members? Are we trying to force the superintendent into something? Are we overstepping our bounds? It looks at different aspects of our responsibilities. Anyone else want to speak to that to let Scott know what that?
Yeah, I've been kind of thinking about this myself, just because as a new board member, and I do know the community pretty well, I feel like I need to be out there more. And so I know next week I'm meeting with Dr. Fricker, and I wanted to try and come up with ideas for me to be involved a little bit more, and just maybe attend maybe some more meetings, maybe some staff meetings I was thinking of, and I'm also going to join again, I used to be on the Rotary, and I'm going to join both of them in Arrowhead. And just so I can communicate more. It seems like when you go to back to school night, that's great, and it's great to see everything. But many times you don't get to interact or get feedback from people or have great conversations with people about what's really going on. So I'm looking for that myself, just so that I can be in the community more and communicate with them, and they have the ability to come up to me and talk to me and have those discussions, concerns that they have and things. And I realize I'm limited in what I can respond, but it's nice to get that information that helps encourage, it helps push you in the ways that, because I'm representing the teachers, the students, and our community, and I need to be receptive to everything they have to say to me.
Yes, and on that note, it would be very helpful to know the meeting times of site councils and things like that, where we can simply listen. We're not there to advise or guide, but to be there as a listening ear.
I think those go out in our Monday morning bulletins of school site events for the week. Whenever those come up, most of them are fixed dates and times.
Some of them come out, it's hard to find them at times.
Yeah.
It's hard to find some of those specific, those key ones.
Yeah, that's the key, is the key ones, because the ability for them to communicate with you. At some of those meetings, you can't really have those conversations, and I didn't want to be intrusive or taking up any time, especially at a staff meeting. People, they want to go home, but if there's an opportunity at some point for them to communicate with you and you have that ability, then that's great.
Anything else with evaluation? Just get a sense when Dan is talking about the possibility of getting input from others. Any sense that that's something that you're interested in?
Yes, I think I've already spoken to that, but I would be interested in learning and exploring that more.
Can I propose that maybe Jordan and I get together and we put together some sort of a plan that we come back to the rest of y'all with?
Yeah, I agree with Jordan, limited questions. Because parents don't like really long questionnaires. We saw that with the California Healthy Kids Survey with 76 questions. So I think that being strategic, maybe 10 questions, something really focused and simple and actionable, like you said, Jordan.
And I wouldn't mind you trying it out and see, maybe 10 is too many. You may want to try it out with some people and maybe even talk to our people on the right side of the table.
Wow.
But not burden them too much.
I'm happy to.
Okay. 13, discussion and action calendar. 13.1, personnel services tentative agreement between CSEA and Rim of the World Unified School District. Shannon, are you speaking to that? You can say no.
Are we supposed to move?
First, yeah.
We had before discussion.
No, I know it's going to call for a motion or a second.
Oh my gosh, well, I'm gonna go ahead and make that motion.
All right, and you are moving for the personnel services tentative agreement between CSEA, which we all actually have.
Right.
So I'm sorry for joking, between CSEA and Rim of the World Unified School District. So Cindy moved to approve that. Is there a second?
Second,
Motion and second. Any discussion?
I just want to note that normally we read through the fiscal impact and budget source for these. I know it's not on here, but I have it in front of me. If you want me to read that.
It's attached to the big one.
Oh, it is. I'm looking at the different areas. Sorry. Oh, it is.
so maybe it'd be a good idea to read the details here.
It's 49. Sorry.
Thank you.
Personnel Services tentative agreement between CSEA and Rim of the World Unified School District. Recommendations from Personnel Services recommends that the Board of Trustees approve the tentative agreement between the California School Employees Association and Rim of the World Unified School District to increase the classified salary schedule 5.5% effective July 1, 2022. The tentative agreement between the California School Employees Association and Rim of the World School District is to increase the classified salary schedule 5.5% effective July 1, 2022. CSCA and the district need to negotiate wages and working conditions as part of the Sunshine Statement for the 2022-2023 school year. The parties agreed to negotiate Article 6 wages of the collective bargaining agreement. Financial impact is an estimated cost of $394,521. Anything else you want me to read from there?
No, that was quite a bit, so I'm gonna go ahead and so move it again. And
I already have your motion and I have your second, Deanna. Now, is there any discussion?
Do you have a question? But didn't you start by saying Shannon, could you or something?
I was going to ask if Shannon wanted to say anything about it, but I'm actually asking the board now if there's any discussion.
Yes.
Then are we ready for the question? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? It carried unanimously. Congratulations, Suzanne. Please tell your staff that we really appreciate that. 13.2 Personnel Services approval to increase the certificated management, classified management, and classified confidential salary schedules 5.5% effective July 1, 2022. Personnel Services recommends that the Board of Trustees approve increase the certificated management, classified management, and classified confidential salary schedules 5.5% effective July 1, 2022. The district recognizes the increase to the classified salary schedule and will provide the same percentage increase for the management and confidential employees. This will impact $170,500. This actually, for information, is about our management personnel, which is different than our certified and our classified personnel. This is management. Is there a motion?
so moved.
Cindy's moved. So there's second? Second. Scott, second. Any discussion? I'm glad we're doing this for both groups. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried unanimously. 13.3. Personnel Services approval to increase the regional occupation program, career technical education salary schedule 8% effective July 1, 2022. Personnel Services recommends that the Board of Trustees approve increase the regional occupation program. That's why we're saying ROP. Career Technical Education, CTE, salary schedule 8% effective July 1, 2022. The district recognizes the increase to the certificated salary schedule and will provide the same percentage increase for the ROP CTE employees. Fiscal impact $38,400.
So moved.
Cindy moved. Is there a second? Second. Second, Scott. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. And I'm reminding that we can't all be on at the same time. So it's hard for us to all have our votes.
Be a good thing for me, right?
That,
Just
that might be a good thing for you, Trustee Gardner. Thank you. 13.4. Personnel Services MOU between California School Employees Association and Rim of the World Unified School District to alter work times for high school custodian position to CUSRHS 002 night differential. Personnel Services recommends that the Board of Trustees approve the MOU between CSEA and the district to alter the start and end work times for the high school custodian position and decrease the night differential from 6% to 4.5%. The memorandum of understanding between California School Employees Association and Rim of the World Unified School District is to alter the start and end work times for the high school custodian position to CUSRHS 002 from 2 p.m. to 10:30 to 12 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. The night differential paid to this position will decrease from 6% to 4.5%. CSEA and the district met to negotiate the benefits of having a custodian position that works during the crossover times between the day and night shift custodians. Fiscal impact is a savings of $425. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Cindy. Second. Thank you, Scott. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Aye, it's carried unanimously. Personnel Services 13.5, approval of the Williams Quarterly Uniform Complaint Report Summary for January 1, 2023 through March 31, 2023. Personnel Services recommends that the Board of Trustees approve the Williams Quarterly Uniform Complaint Report Summary for January 1, 2023 through March 31, 2023. A Williams Quarterly Uniform Complaint Report Summary must be submitted to the San Bernardino County Superintendent of Schools Office. The report needs to be board approved. And there were a ton of complaints. I think there were a total of 0.
Ooh, so moved.
Second. Moved and seconded by Cindy, seconded by Scott. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Carried unanimously. 13.6 Educational Services 2023 NAB Show Conference. What's NAB?
National Arts.
Oh, it's right here. Hold on. Yeah.
The what?
National Association of Broadcasting.
National Association of Broadcasting. For anyone who's watching, it's my goal to have all these acronyms that get used in education to be spelled out so that common people like I can understand what we're talking about.
I apologize for
Thank you. So the National Association of Broadcasting Show Conference for Jared Powell's Clinical Technical Education Teacher at Rim High School. Educational Services recommends that the Board of Trustees approve Jared Powell, CTE teacher, to attend the 2023 NAB Show Conference from Saturday, April 15th to Tuesday, April 18th in Las Vegas, Nevada.
It's okay. Keep going. Just
The 2003 NAB Show Conference is for all who aspire to tell stories in entirely new ways and who harness knowledge as power to enhance creativity, uncover new trends and topics to inspire your projects and teaching. Know what's coming next. Learn easy to implement techniques through a wealth of free education throughout the show and exclusive education with prominent industry partners. The perfect mix of new know-how for your craft and teaching awaits. Budget account, K-12 Strong Workforce Program grant, dollar amount, $3,045.81.
so moved.
Second. Motion and second to approve that. Are we going to also say that he's not going to be gambling while he's there for us?
Free to gamble.
We should do it. Yeah, wait a second. District fundraiser. Let's go. Craps table.
Say craft day.
I did want to note that I looked at nowhere on the supporting document do they spell out NAB. But I did look through the sessions that they're offering and they look really exciting. I think it's the same with CSBA. I don't think, CSBA outlines anywhere on their session stuff. It's all just the CSBA logo. But anyway,
What is CSBA?
the California School Boards Association, actually, now that I think about it, it might be spelled out in the logo, but I don't think they use the full one. Anyway, I digress.
I just have a quick comment, because back when Stephanie and I started at the high school, and you watch this class where it started, and then it's evolved. And where it is now with Jared Powell, it's outstanding. And all of our do an outstanding job, but it's nice to see that he's gonna get some support that he needs and other stuff.
And supervision.
Supervision.
And so Dr. Fricker is going along to supervise.
Yes, sir.
Okay, although. So. And Stephanie is recommending this too?
Yes, she is.
Say you approve.
Okay, all those in favor say aye, aye.
Aye.
The opposition carried unanimously. 13.7 Business Services Re-adoption of Parent Pay Transportation Program. Business Services recommends the Board of Trustees approve resolution number 2223-13 to re-adopt Parent Pay Transportation Program and establish ridership fees for the 2023-2024 school year. Business Services would like to help offset a portion of transportation's expenditures. Rim of the World Unified School District will continue to operate a parent pay transportation system to bus students to and from school during the 2023-2024 school year. The Board of Trustees annually reviews ridership data and establishes fees for the next year. Under the current local community local control funding formula allocation model, the district does not receive full funding to operate a home-to-school transportation program. For the 2023-2024 school year, the use of coronavirus relief funds can be used to offset contributions from parents to address barriers to learning. The financial impact is to be determined. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Sydney, move to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Jordan, second. In recent history, we have actually been waiving that. So yes, Ms. Hadley, do you have something to say about it? Thank you.
Yeah, it's not really presentation, so I wasn't going to come up there, but I did print out some, you're used to seeing this sheet. It's just, and Jen Kingwell helps put it together by crunching some of the numbers with TransTracks in our ridership. So this is just a summary sheet of what we've given annually. You can go back, I don't, probably since I worked here or the person before me who did the bus pass report to the board. So just a little bit of data, because we really do have a parent pay transportation program, but we can just, our fee can be zero, you know, because with EDCO, we are allowed to provide transportation and we're allowed to charge. We're not allowed to charge our free students or foster or homeless, and that we're allowed to charge reduced. This is prior to the coronavirus funds helping out. And so the last you can see in 2021, 22, and then this year, 22, 23, we've had no charge to our parents because we've been able to offset those funds with the coronavirus dollars. We do have one more year that those funds are available. But on a side note to that, because of the new law with who we have to offer free transportation to, it's not just free and reduced students anymore, it's our unduplicated students, which wrap in our English learner population too. So looking at very preliminary numbers, as we move forward, you can see here that of our current enrollment, 80% of our students have a bus pass. And of the 80% that has a bus pass, we have about 90% ridership. Okay, so we do have, you know, students that have a bus pass that don't ride every day. So that's a very, very high ridership number. And so, but then when you look at our CalPADS 1.17 report that documents our our free and reduced and our homeless and our foster and EL. Our free and reduced is 63% of the writers. And then if we were to roll in our ELs, assuming we don't know which one of these students are writing, if we just take the population as a whole, you know, that becomes about 72% of our students that are in this category of free and reduced. And so kind of some very quick crunching of the numbers that going into next year, you know, we could only be looking at 400 or 500 of our students that we would be charging, because we want to do some financial planning into next year and coronavirus funds are over. Do we want to start charging parents again? And what parents are we going to charge? Our free and reduced numbers are rising, but now we've also added another population that wasn't in the calculation before. So then it's more of a, I'm requesting that we use coronavirus funds one more year. So I believe what you do is you typically like re-motion, or, you know, the motion to set the prices. But then as we start thinking about the 24-25 school year, you know, is that cost that we would charge a parent worth charging them? If that's a barrier to education, is there other funds we can look towards that? Maybe the law will change, maybe we'll get to be able to tap into some more transportation funding. So it's something like that to start thinking in our multi-year projections on, you know, how long can we sustain keeping transportation free? Because I think, you know, right now, our buses are exploding with students. So, which is a good thing, because if they can get to school, we can feed them. They have counselors, we can
teach them.
We can teach them. We can serve them breakfast.
And
So, yeah.
so traditionally we would be setting fees, but we can go ahead and do one more year of zero charge. Okay, so then I would make a motion to set the fee at zero charge for one additional utilize the COVID relief funds to do that.
So are you amending the first, or are you removing the first motion
I'm amending the first
to zero charge for
to zero charge
23-24?
using COVID relief funds for 23-24.
And who seconded? Was it Jordan?
I will second that.
Okay, now is there further discussion on that?
I would just like to note that if we do move to a attendance daily membership model, one way to incentivize attendance is for the state legislator to fully fund home to school transportation.
Yeah.
That's a great way to get kids to school, isn't it? So just a note. Go ahead.
Scott?
I just wanted, maybe a little discussion, Jenny. I think you remember when we first even started charging in the district, and there was some animosity there, and parents were a little upset, and I think that kind of cooled down a little bit, but there always seemed to be a problem with this. And you've been here through that, so I thought maybe you could speak to that a little bit.
A problem with charging and the parent perception of that,
Yes.
or, okay. As a parent myself, and as, witnessing some of the things that happened in the past, I saw two things. I compared to other districts, I think compared to family members of mine, Red has always charged less than anyone I knew in another school district. You know, especially if you look at Temecula and you look at some of those, like, so some other areas, we were charging less. And our buses, it cost us more to run. So, especially when we also, when the prices started creeping up, we offered payment plans. We offered free bus pass if you had perfect attendance. So we tried to offset some of those, because I felt like transportation was worth it as a parent, because my kids always had bus passes, even when I didn't always use it. Like once they got older, maybe it was only one way or something like that. But yeah, there was, you hear what will kill you is when a parent's in the bus pass office and they're, you know, $1,000 more a year from qualifying for a reduced or free pass. And, you know, those guidelines are, they're federal guidelines, the bus, ed code says on our fee structure, the free and reduced, you utilize the national school lunch income guidelines. So then you have one parent who's like $1,000 off from getting something free. And so there's that working middle to lower income that they're not free, but they're not making a lot of money, that I think hurt some of our families and made it tough. I mean, the payment plans helped us in the past. They really appreciated that. But then we had more time collecting because we would have a credit card on file that then would get denied. I mean, so it was like, okay, then was it worth it? Because now I'm adding hours in business time. The free attendance I thought was helpful. But then I saw some, there was some people who just was a little bit more were cavalier or something like, well, come on, it's only $400 for the 2 kids, and parents can afford that. And then we're going like, they can't, you know, and some can, but it was that misconception of our income levels in our community kind of came out too. So I don't know if I answered your question, but.
Yes, you did. I just wanted to bring it up a little bit so we can better understand that. Thank you.
We had people, I remember when I think it was Sandy Scare and Aaron here were on the board. I mean, heated board meetings when we first started charging. So it's great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What year did you first start charging?
You know, because Bus Pass wasn't part of business, they had a whole separate department and a modular unit in transportation. So, and I started in 1998 with the district, and that office was there and manned, so they were charging then. So, but it's fluctuated. I mean, it's gone down. You can see $40. I think it's fluctuated in price.
I don't know, just from my perspective, it seems like getting kids to school is top priority. And getting them there safely. So,
If we can keep it free within the budget we have, I think that's what we plan on. Yeah, what we can, that's what we want to do.
all right, I'm hearing that from our CBO, and I'm hearing that in the silent, quiet person next to us, not on microphone, that she's saying that she's gonna try to keep it in the plan of being zero charges. That would be a desired goal. Is that right?
That would be correct.
All right, then let's call for the question. All those in favor of the new motion, which is to have zero charge this year and the charges to go to COVID-19 funds, say aye. 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 I believe that was unanimous. Moving on. By the way, Jen, we were on Zoom, so you probably weren't with us, but thank you for what you also did to get those students off the mountain for Orange County. We actually received a letter last month that was from Orange County thanking us for getting those students off. It was a challenge that probably should have been taken care of other ways, but wasn't. And so you had that bus and got it down there with chains on, and they were very appreciative. And thank you for your willingness. And I don't know that we've seen you, but welcome back. 13.8, business services transfer of appropriations for the 2023-2024 school year. Recommendation, business services recommends that the Board of Trustees approve resolution number 22-23-14, transfer of appropriations for the 2023-2024 school year. In accordance with Education Code sections 42600 through 42602, the board must authorize staff to process necessary transfers to appropriations to revise budget amounts during the course of the fiscal year. At this point, there is no financial impact. Is there a motion? Second. Jenny and Scott, any discussion? Anybody want to explain to the person who doesn't know what we're talking about, what this is?
This is you giving me authority to do general housekeeping budgetary entries as new monies come in or sites decide they originally adopted their budget with money in a supply, which is one account line, and then they decided to buy a different type of technology, which might be a different account line, and for us to do that normal housekeeping upkeep on the budget in the software.
So we want to give you authority.
You're giving me, and then
I ultimately approve all of them that come, even if I'm not the one that inputs all of them. The
All right.
only two of us have the authority to do it in my office. It's not. So.
Thanks, Ms. Haberly. Any further discussion on that?
Just to note that this is a resolution that comes before us annually, so.
Yes. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Carried unanimously. (13.9) Business services. Cal OES, Office of Emergency Services. Emergency Services, State of California eligibility to receive funding. Business Services recommends that the Board of Trustees approve resolution number 222315, form California OES 130 from the State of California Governor's Office of Emergency Services to be eligible to receive funding. Form Cal OES 130, designation of applicant's agent resolution for non-state agencies, is required to be filed with the State of California Governor's Office of Emergency Services for the purpose of obtaining certain federal financial assistance under Public Law 93-288, as amended by the Robert T. Stafford Disaster Relief and Emergency Assistance Act of 1988, and/or state financial assistance under the California Disaster Assistance Act. Financial impact is none.
So moved.
Second motion, second Scott. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Was there any opposition? Carried unanimously. 13.10 Business Services, Rim of the World School District Emergency Resolution. Business Services recommends that the Board of Trustees approve resolution number 222312 for Rim of the World School District personnel to authorize and take necessary action as it relates to the operations of the district due to the federal and state emergency. The Rim of the World School District Board Policy 3516.5 authorizes the superintendent or designee to take any necessary action when adverse weather conditions or other emergency warrant. Blizzard conditions existed in the San Bernardino County Mountains starting on February 23, 2023, and ended on March 10, 2023. The blizzard was officially declared a federal agency by the White House. The Board of Education's unanimous approval is required for an emergency request to the county superintendent of schools asking for the approval to enter into necessary contracts without advertising for or inviting bids when emergency repairs and work is necessary to permit the continuance of existing school classes or to avoid danger to life or property, and for cost recovery of ADA, American Disabilities Act, nutritional meals, and any other programs impacted due to the emergency. This will impact none. Yes, ma'am?
Yep. So moved.
Second. Motion Cindy, second Scott. Jordan.
The ADA, I believe, was actually related to attendance, not
Average daily attendance.
Yes.
Average daily attendance. See, that's why you gotta spell out what the acronyms are. Okay. Any discussion? You want to say anything about this, Dr. Fricker?
We would appreciate you voting yes.
This is all about dealing with how do we cover emergency needs, and there have been many. Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Carried unanimously. We now move to the 14th, to the consent calendar. Are there any items that members of the board wish to remove from the consent calendar for individual attention? Seeing none, then we'll move forward. Oh boy. Yeah, we need to switch back to the other board. Am I using yours? Okay, 14.1, 14.2, 14.3, 14.4, 14.5, 14.6, 14.7, 14.8. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second motion, Scott, second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Carried unanimously.
You want me to go back?
16, governance team, future agenda items planning. Let me get over there. All right, are there any future agenda items that any board members want to request? No?
Want to request we discuss the curriculum legislation, or is that something you've read?
That's something Cindy's gonna report on, so we'll leave that in her hands at this moment. But I would like the cabinet to look at the Parents' Bill of Rights and come up with your recommendation regarding that. So that is work, sorry.
Are you requesting an agenda item to be added, or are you directing staff to do work prior to the agenda?
I'm asking them to do something prior and for them to be agendized.
Oh, you're asking, okay, so you're asking for an agenda item. I see.
And that, nothing else will come board? Okay, let's move on then. Yeah, I need yours, sorry.
It's hard.
Future meeting dates, board meeting workshop, April 27th, coming up next week at 4 p.m. Rim of the World Unified School District, Lake Gregory Education Center, 24740 San Moritz Way, Crestline, California. Board meeting workshop, May 4th, 2023 at 4 p.m. Rim of the World Unified School District, Lake Gregory Education Center, 24740 San Moritz Way, Crestline, California. And regular board meeting, May 25, 2023 at 5:30 p.m. Rim of the World Unified School District, Lake Gregory Education Center, 24740 San Moritz Way. Obviously, there is always the afternoon session at 4 o'clock, which has the closed session before the 5:30 meeting. And with that, is there anything else before we reconvene to closed session? Okay, we are here adjourned to closed session at 8:00.